It's like, oh, this guy's a communist. Oh, he's a fascist. It's like, first of all, none of you know what that even means. And then two, it's just like, you're just saying that because you're trying to just rile up and activate the biggest swath of idiot voters.
You know what it is? It's the Eccentric-Talk podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Pachetsky. Today, our guest brings together the worlds of architecture, public policy, and civic engagement. As an architect, Brandon Hassel understands that great societies are built on strong foundations, not just in buildings, but in communities and institutions. Beyond his professional work, he creates thought-provoking political content, offering commentary on ideas and issues shaping our time. Brandon is a huge advocate on preserving the values and principles they believe have helped strengthen our communities together, while encouraging thoughtful discussions about the nation's future. His vision is centered on helping build a stronger, more prosperous future for the United States and other great nations through responsible leadership, civic participation, and meaningful dialogue. So please join me in welcoming our guests to the show. If we can get that clapping. It's on that. Oh, show on there.
I'm just gonna
press random button at this point. Woo, yes. So we got that going.
Oh, that was great, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No
thanks for having me on.
Oh. I think little background, like I did it before communicating with Brandon. I was just going on a deep dive trying to figure out who's my next guest, and wanting to get into like the political realm, and just finding out that our school, Rosemont, is getting bought from Villanova. I went to the Villanova Republicans and saw that you were following them. So I pressed your content or your Instagram page, and I saw that you did content on like political content, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, gold mine!" And then I did like a whole like dumpster dive into what you were talking about. In particular, one striking episode or video that you did is when you were talking about SEPTA, and I was just. I was not 100% aware of what they were dealing with. Yep. And then one of our buddies, Mark, was part of what was the
SEPTA
youth committee.
Okay.
So
Okay.
council. Yeah. So I was like kind of combining that too. And then that was actually the same week that I learned that Mark was part of it. So I was like, oh shit. And I went into a whole dive of like, other videos, and then in particular YouTube when you did the Star Wars video on that, and I was like, oh, this is like this is a gold mine here, and you know, again, I appreciate being here, and we've been in constant communication for some time, so I 100% appreciate being on this.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for having me on. I did the same after you reached out. I kind of went in and saw your stuff, and I was just like, I was hooked. So thank you. It's really cool. Yeah. So yeah,
this is our new journey for ETP. I've been working to like launch it for like 6 years previously, and then finally was able to do it. And then we were part of now we're back onto History John. Yeah. Where we're talking about the history and untold history of the greater Philadelphia area. Mm-hmm. And for me in particular, like content is, you know, what, I mean, everyone's been doing it, but like for me, this is like, you know, home. Like I love having conversations. I believe that everyone has a story to tell. Mm-hmm. And if I can have ETP to be that time capsule when we're gone, and it's like people listen, it's like, you know, listen to our ideas, and it's like, or if God forbid civilization goes collapse, they can use our podcast as a reference.
Yeah, for sure. Right? No, totally with it.
Especially if you wanted to be like Genghis Khan.
Yeah, true. Different topic, people. Different topic. But we're going to start off with the quote of the day for Stoicism. It goes, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. For me, this quote is very like hits home with me, because what I learned through this philosophy is like you're in charge of your reactions to any given situation. Previously, I wanted to control everything. but then that took me into a dark path and caused depression and stuff. And when I kind of realized like I don't have control of like external things, the only thing I have control over is me and my reactions. And from then on, like even today, like from living with that rule, not saying it's a perfect road, but I've grew and prospered from being able to just focus on what I need to focus on.
Yeah.
And that's like my reactions.
Yeah.
And I'm not like acting out or just like, all right, I'm going to let the punches roll.
Yeah.
So I definitely love the philosophy in general. It actually saved my life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like it too. I think, you know, as a Christian too, I tie everything back to what I believe about what Scripture says.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that, you know, not always, but there's a lot of crossover, I think, with what some of the Stoics had to say as it relates to Scripture. And, you know, one of the things is, right, like, you know, we understand as believers, you know, we don't have control. You know, ultimately, God is sovereign. But I do think there is a lesson to be drawn where you can say, listen, something happens. I feel what I feel in that moment.
Right.
I'm going to give that to God. I can pray about it.
Yep.
And, you know, I know what's still before me. I know what's commanded of me. I will do those things to the best of my ability in service to the Lord. And that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I really appreciate what you said with that.
It reminds me of the quote that I sent you last night.
Exactly.
So, saw that and that it hit me big time. That was like a heavy moment that I was dealing with at that moment. And I was like, you know what? I want to pass it because I even sent it to like, you know, 12 other people as well. Because like, I feel like their message, No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna say, I don't.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
But like, mostly sent it to people that I knew that, or from who will appreciate it, but also like people who are that I know they're struggling.
Sure.
And that needed to hear that message. You know, I'll give them a shout out. Shout out to Colin. Shout out to Will on that. Yeah. So definitely hopefully help them out. But we're going to start off with some icebreaker questions before we get into the deep conversation. To start off with, what's your happy place?
Happy place is home. You know, honestly, it's just like a cup of coffee in the morning. Oof. Just, I love to do pour over. So I have a whole setup. So I start with like, I get some beans, you know, I grind it up. Yeah. It's the whole thing of just physically you grind it and then you put it into the Chemex. Yeah. Heat the water, pour the water, get your brew going. Right. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, I also throw in some like, you know, house music or like some like EDM or something like that. My personal favorite is going on YouTube. There's a bunch of different like DJs that you can find online. Yep. And I like that because they'll have a setup. They're on the turntables and they're vibing, they're grooving, and I'm just sitting there in the same thing. I'm grooving. So anyway, that's my happy place.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Next, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve, I would say slow walkers.
Slow walkers. Yeah. Yes. Amen to that, bro. Amen to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially in the city when they're just like walking and just like, I'm like, I'm trying to get to somewhere.
Bro, sometimes I feel like I'm like autistic when it comes to it because I'm like, I wish I had like a speed lane. Like just on the sidewalk where I could just go into, because I feel like I'm marching everywhere, you know, and people just like lollygagging. It's just, not my thing.
Real. Yeah.
So.
And then a last icebreaker question is, what has life taught you recently?
Oof. What has life taught me recently? I don't know, man. Life teaches me a lot of things. Patience, probably one of them, top among them. You know, dealing with my move to Europe and, you know, bureaucracy, working with that. I think learning to not be in control, you know, I think is another one. So, yeah.
So you mentioned your big move to overseas. If you can elaborate more of sure.
Yeah, well, I'm getting married. Beautiful woman. She's actually German. And, you know, born and raised. It was a crazy way we met. We met online. Actually, we met right as I was getting ready to get off the apps permanently. I was just like, I am done. I hate this. It's the worst experience. And then she was here kind of visiting a friend, and I was basically like, I didn't know that. I was just like, oh, a person I matched. Okay, this is great. And she's like, hey, you know, she, I think was responding to something in my profile. Anyway, long story short, I realized only after she flew back to Germany that she's actually not an American or like living in America. So we talked for like a couple months. She came back to visit. And then I think after that, we just decided to make it official. We dated for 3 years. And then I proposed to her last Christmas. And so here we are. So,
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So it was a long distance relationship for some time.
Long distance.
Was there any like difficulties with that?
Honestly, no. Surprisingly, for me, it's actually very funny because I think back there's like 2 women I had dated like prior, and one was from New Jersey, from Princeton, New Jersey, and I remember her saying because she ended things, and she was like, well, you know, I just think it's long distance, you know, it doesn't really work. And I was like, honestly, I kind of agree. It's just like getting to Princeton was like a hassle. And I'm sitting there like, I think about that and I'm like, well, it's definitely way easier to get to Princeton than it is to fly over to Germany. But, you know, somehow we were able to make that work. So I think it's just Providence, Lord's blessing. And I'm really, really excited. Also super nervous. It's a whole life change, but
a lot of emotions right there. I like that.
A lot of different things.
How's your practice?
So, okay, I learned German in Gymnasium. Ich hatte Deutsch lernen in Gymnasium für 4 Jahren. Und jetzt, mein Deutsch ist sehr schlecht, aber ich hoffe, ich will mehr Deutsch sprechen besser. So, I'm out.
I actually picked out a couple words there.
Good, sehr gut.
I practice.
Okay.
I'm going to
cool.
As well as it just helps with.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think 2 things. One is I actually learned this. Apparently, Austrian German, one of the accent differences is that they'll put L's at the end of words that like normal Germans don't do. My fiance was like telling me this, and I don't remember the example she explicitly used, but I do think it's things like even like Hansel and Gretel. It's like I think it'd be just Hans and Greta. In like normal German. But the Austrian and Southern Germans, they'll throw that L on there, and it's kind of like this kind of
their own thing.
I feel
that.
So that's cool, man. That's awesome.
And then, do you have any misunderstood boundaries, and what are they?
Misunderstood boundaries. I think I'm a person who values my me time, my alone time. I think people could probably misconstrue that as me being antisocial or like not wanting to hang with people. No, it's not really it. It's just that like I need time to just decompress, to think. That's how I recharge.
Definitely relate to that. Some people, like especially upstairs, they're my buddy Connor. Shout out to Connor. He gets it's like he tells me he's like, you need to stop having like those moments where you're alone, or just like go out more. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I'd rather be home watching like a documentary, chilling with my dog. Maybe have a cup of coffee, a tea, whatever it is, and just chill out. But like people think I'm just like antisocial or I'm an asshole. I mean, I am, but like, you know,
but that's not why. It's not why. Well, no, it's just like I feel like we live in a very extroverted world, and I think sometimes I'm like, you know, that's one way of being, but there's another way of being. You know, I think a lot of people are like us. You know, we're just like, hey, we recharge. I like people. I'm sure. I mean, you like people. You know. But it's just like I need that. I also need that time to just be like, all right, what did I just experience?
Yep.
What was the takeaway? I'm also analytical too. So I'm like, what was the takeaway? Lessons learned,
Yep.
you know?
Yes. I literally can connect on that. I do a mental breakdown of just like, and then I just remember every key moment, body language, what they were wearing, like if they're, like normally if they like move this certain way, but then they're off kilt, I was like,
that was weird.
Yeah. So I was like, all right. Oh my God. This is fucking amazing. I feel like I just found my species. I'm like, oh,
I know, dude.
More of us.
We're definitely, I feel like definitely a species. Cause I'm like, man, there's so many things where I'm like, I'm trying to explain to people. Like my fiance, she's an extrovert if I've ever seen one. And I'm just like, yeah, she's like my secret weapon at parties. I'm just like, all right, here. You talk, you socialize. I'm just gonna stand here in the corner and like,
just enjoy the nice view on the outlet.
Exactly.
I mean, like, I don't know what I am anymore. I'm like, I don't know if you can attest to this. When I was younger, I was like super extroverted, but like as I got older, I don't know if it's anxiety or just the I've like started relying more on my me time than I have. Like when I was younger.
It's just, I feel like it's just growing up, an adult, you know. It's because I feel like I resonate with that. As a kid, you know, I was always out. I wanted to have fun, you know. Not that we're not having fun, but it's just like it's just. I get it. I get you. It's just like you grow up, you have different things happening. I feel like life is a little bit heavier in certain regards, and you just got like, I need that time.
Yeah, amen to that. Take your time, people. Take your time. So next, can infer what's the answer of this question. So, what was the happiest point in your life?
Ooh, happy. Well, okay, I have two answers for this.
All right.
I had. Childhood was great.
Yeah.
Okay, growing up, I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't wait to grow up, get older. I can get a car, whatever, stay out late, whatever." Like none of that stuff fazed me. I was like, you know what? No, I was like a Star Wars nerd if there was any. And I was just like, yo, let's talk about Star Wars, this lightsaber fight. You know, I had one of those like plastic light up ones, whatever. Action figures, whatever. I just loved just the imagination, not having the responsibility of bills and stuff. And so anyway, that was a great time. And also as a 90s kid, I feel like we got like the last end of like a world that is like recognizable by other people. You know, it's like we got the last bit of like America where it was like, yo, I remember that America actually. It was a totally different place. And this is like a weird new America now. Yeah. So
he's calling us old.
Oh yeah.
He's a youngin. He's a youngin.
I was born in 04.
Well, all right. Well, I feel like at heart, I feel like I'm a Gen Z. I like there's a lot of stuff with millennials. I'm just like, I don't vibe with that at all. I'm just like, I am not. But I am a millennial, right? But I think I have some connections. Yeah. But the other thing I was gonna say is another happy place. I feel like 2014 for me it was like a great year, but specifically, me and like 5 of my best friends, we went to the Mad Decent Block Party in New York City. Yeah. And it was like Diplo, I think, was playing. Yeah. It was like this.
I've only seen videos.
It was like this garage. It was like 5 different floors or whatever. You had different venues. Yeah. Diplo was like one of them, and it was just like great. It was just, we had all the gang was there. Yeah. In my head, I always every time I see these guys, I have that song. I think it's like Thin Lizzy. It's like the boys are back in town. Or whatever. Yes. I'm like, I'm sitting there like, yeah, that was it. That was literally my life at that point, 2014. So. Okay.
I like that. I like that response. And then, when's a time that you felt the most secondhand embarrassment?
Secondhand embarrassment. So I'm feeling embarrassment for somebody, right? Yeah. Okay, that honestly it was recent because I'm watching the show White Lotus right now, and just the characters, the things that are happening on that show is just ridiculous. It's like just like the awkward social interactions that'll happen, just like the weird just moments. I don't know if you guys have seen it or whatever or heard of it. But
I heard of it. I have not seen it yet.
It's actually and I'm very skeptical with shows. I am not like I will just go watch anything kind of guy. Yeah. I'm like it has to be very good.
Right.
So I am definitely I saw it with a couple of my buddies, and yeah, that show is just It's a great storytelling too.
Right.
So yeah.
All right.
Curious.
Anime in very specific amounts, or like, you know, I don't know how to say it, but it's like, so for instance, what's it, Death Note?
Okay. Yeah.
Like I love Death Note. I mean, I'm just super normie, I guess, but I love Death Note. The other one with the giants and they're attacking the city. Attack on Titan. Yeah.
My cousin always mentioned, but actually both of those shows for me to watch. So I just haven't got the time to do it at the moment.
I feel like they're good, like entry on ramping into anime. It's not that I don't like anime.
Yeah.
Although I feel like some of it kind of gets like, it's definitely an acquired taste. You know, you got a lot of the expressions or like this stuff that'll happen in it. You're like, what is this? But yeah, we're gonna ask me about a particular one, or
I was gonna recommend watch.
Okay.
Because it's basically cool because it answers the question of what does the party do after the bad.
Sure.
And basically, the main character, it's like 70 years after she defeated the villain.
Sure.
All of her died.
Sure.
And just basically her kind of like going through with like a new party.
Sure.
Exploring deeper themes of history, how people's memories really live on after they're gone for that period. What parts of them forgotten.
No, that sounds pretty interesting. I don't know if I would, because I feel like right now, my point in life, I've got so many different things going on.
Right.
But I love shows that try to answer or like ask a question that maybe some of us have like in the back of our heads, but like, I don't know, maybe we talk about it on the side. Like Game of Thrones started out like that, you know, with like, all right, you had Lord of the Rings, the good defeats evil. Okay, what happens the day after that? Right? Like, what does that world look like? So no, I appreciate stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And then, is there a song that had the biggest impact on your life, and explain the significance?
I don't know biggest impact, but I do really love the song Viva La Vida from Coldplay.
Yeah.
What is it?
The Minecraft parody.
Oh no, I saw that one's great too. I love that too. I would honestly, on my YouTube back like years ago, I'd watch the VO or Vivo, whatever it was, music video for them, and then I would also watch. It would get recommended the Minecraft version of it. But anyway, I don't know. It's a great song. It's got great imagery. It's like it's borderline very epic, but at the same time, it's not over the top.
Yeah.
I particularly like it because of the French Revolution iconography.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also the style. I mean, the jacket, a little bit. It's like kind of same kind of thing. So yeah,
I fuck with that. I know.
Yeah.
They definitely have drip and aura.
Yeah.
So, what personal prisons have you built out of fear?
Personal prisons. I don't know. I think I'd probably walk around assuming people judge me. I mean, most people are probably in their own heads. They're thinking about themselves. You know, they're not thinking about me and what I did or didn't do. But yeah, I think like that's kind of like a thing. I kind of view life through that prism of like, all right, everybody has some kind of preconceived notion about me, and maybe it's not hot. It's hostile. It's not good.
Yeah. And
so I'm just kind of like, all right, you know, preemptively thinking they're doing me in.
Right.
You know,
I got you. And then putting you on the spot on this question. So, if you have one, ask a question that is on your mind to us. Generally,
anything.
Yeah. If there's anyone on the mind.
Well, I was going to ask you actually, what's a prison that you've constructed?
Ooh. Oh shit. Yeah. All right. So, probably a lot of it have to do with ego in particular. Specifically like not having enough power.
Yeah. And I feel like it's such a guy's. It's like a guy thing. I feel like I'm thinking. Sorry to cut you off, but
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm thinking about that a lot because I have these discussions with my fiance, where I'm trying to explain, what this men as a man like with this stuff because she's always like being like, I just never thought of that. Or like, why are men like this? Why are you guys like this? I'm like, I don't know. I vibe with that.
Yeah,
sure.
I just whatever it is like feel powerless. Yeah, but then I don't know. Sometimes make some power moves. That I was like, all right, I put on my ego that, and then but at the end of the day, it's just like this weird power game that I sadly have to play. Yeah. I choose. I really don't want to, but it's just like that's where society is for like men in particular. Like we got to make a certain amount of money, have some sorts of status, and in order to get what we want. So like sadly, I'm playing that power game, and sometimes you do it with friends, and it sucks because it's like it caused a rift. But then
has it happened recently?
Yeah. Sadly, I mean, luckily we were able to reconcile, and we're working together with History John. But it was like a power move where like it was just us two, but then like my voice wasn't being heard, but a lot of the ideas was like mine. Yeah. So it's just like, all right, well, I brought Bryce involved. To like kind of be that middle guy. Yeah. And then to a point where, be frank, like it's cool to express it right now, but sometimes he doesn't want Bryce involved with it. But, and there's some aspects to it in the early process, and we're working through it, and Bryce is, working on, establishing his role and, making himself indispensable. So, can't wait for that. I'm also like helping mentoring him, especially in the history field, and then teaching him on some aspects with the production and videography and editing. It's a long process. Yeah.
And what I love actually about all of this, it feels like it's like I like the rugged kind of just like frontier vibe of the space, right? It's like everybody's kind of, we're all doing our own thing, we're trying new things. There's no studio exec telling you, hey, here's what you got to do, or the advertisers don't want this or whatever. It's just like, no, it's like we're trying to figure it out, and I feel like it's in a lot of ways it's kind of like the early days of radio, where it's kind of people are just like, it was the Wild West, and then we kind of figured it out, and then everybody's got their lanes now, and so now it's podcasting, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. I like that, and it's like cool that I get to experience that, and so
appreciate that. Like that's like honestly the vibe and feel I'm trying to like incorporate. So it's kind of cool that you mentioned that because people can understand like what I'm somewhat trying to do. But let's get into the heart of the incredible questions. Sure, absolutely. So you mentioned that you are an architect. So for people who may not think much about architecture beyond buildings, why should they care about it? And how does architecture shape our daily lives in ways we don't notice?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say everybody actually does care about architecture. I just think it's maybe not necessarily top of mind in the way that would be obvious. And that kind of leads my answer to the second part of that question. I mean, everything that we do, right, is happening in a building or in the spaces between buildings. So whether it's you're going to your house or you're going to work or you're going to that park, which is conveniently located between a couple other buildings, or going to the grocery store. I mean, every aspect of your life is happening in a building or like near a building. So, it's important because it shapes just everyday life for everybody. So I would say that, and you're aware. I think you're aware of it. Some people are aware of it more overtly. Other people are aware of it from like a ooh, I don't like this area, or like, ooh, this makes me feel weird, you know, or I'm so lost, I'm confused. Where do I go? You know, all those things are answered, or like somebody designed that. You know, they've curated your experience of that space. Right. So architecture definitely matters. And I think people agree with that, even if they might not have thought about it that way. So
I work at the Mercer Museum, and it's funny that you mentioned like the structures and the importance of it, and that an architect like made it that way. Yeah. So Henry Mercer wasn't a trained architect. Terrible architecture. But he's like definitely an amateur. But everything that he like, specific rooms were made to house certain tools, and everything that he has made was in order to give the guests a different perspective. So it's kind of neat that you mentioned previously with your statement of like it was architectures made like these buildings in a specific way, and it changes your perception or perspective of the building or the atmosphere.
Well, I mean, it's really every aspect of life, and not just with the built environment. You know, when you think of that, I don't know, that jug on the ground, you know, I mean, somebody designed that, you know, it's like every aspect of anything that you touch, experience, even the sidewalk and the way the lawn is there or not there, all of that is designed. You know, somebody thought about it, somebody put it down. And I'm not talking about like, oh, somebody's like with pen and paper necessarily like stressing over it, but a decision had to be made. Hey, Bob, what do we want to do with this piece of the road here? I don't know, just fill it with some earth and whatever, call it a day. It's like, I mean, that was a conversation, no matter how small or long that was had to kind of get us to what we see before us. So I think it's wild when you really kind of get into it. I do this, it's like for fun. Stuff I don't like, stuff I do like. I think it's easy to do with the extremes. You can kind of say like, oh, well, I really like this thing. And I don't know, for me, you know, I don't really realize that, somebody curated that. Somebody's thinking and designed it that way so you can have that reaction or that experience to that thing. Right. Or it works in the reverse. It's a bad design. It's bad. It's like, this is ugly, or this is just not making me feel good. It's like that's what people made decisions. And it ended horribly, you know. One other really quick thing I want to throw out there too, because I feel like there's so many overlaps with filmmaking and architecture. I said already, I was like a huge Star Wars nerd. I loved watching the documentaries that would come with like the DVD or the VHS about how they made Star Wars and all that stuff. So for the Revenge of the Sith, I remember they were kind of describing the end, Mustafar, all that stuff. And one of the statements that kind of like caught to stay with me was, I forget who it was, but it was a woman. She had said, you know, so much work went into these scenes that you won't see. Like you're watching this movie, you're not going to see this little piece of detail, whatever. But it's just like, you'll know it's when it's not there, because if it wasn't there, you'd notice. But the fact that it is there, you don't notice, that means we did our job right. Like we did something correct. And I was just sitting there being like, that's actually really amazing from a design standpoint. You know, you're making, it's not just about you're curating what people see, but you're also curating the things that people will miss, or the little details that people maybe breeze over, but would notice if it isn't there. So I don't know.
Like, I think the guy that designed the
sure.
He was on Joe Rogan.
That's 100%. Another example of that. And I just think like that, and again, you're watching and you're just like, oh, whatever. It's just graffiti, or it's just what it's part of the world. It's like, right, exactly. Somebody made that. So you believe that world really exists. That's a real thing. And so, as architects, we do the same, or we don't do the same, and people kind of have a relationship to both. So
something I noticed is like you have so much passion in that field. So like what first drew you in architecture, and how has your understanding of its purpose evolved throughout your career?
For sure. Well, I mean, it's kind of a long story, so I'm gonna try to see if I can like edit in real time and tell you the highlights. But all right, I was really always obsessed with like models, so scale models, particularly model trains. I told you I love my childhood, so growing up, I was watching Thomas the Tank Engine. All right, I love
that show.
I love the model world. I think it's still going on, if I'm not mistaken, today. But like, I feel like they gutted the essence of what made the show interesting. It's like you made a model world, model trains, and you made that come to life. It's a totally different thing if you're gonna do like animated stuff. It's
Right.
not the same thing. But anyway, that kind of got me into it. I wanted to kind of build my own world, but model stuff is expensive, and I didn't grow up with a lot of money. So very quickly, I was like turning cardboard boxes into buildings, and my mom got me a train set. And so I was like trying to build on the train set with these model buildings and stuff. And dude, I made I made a civilization. Like I was like, I made a country, I had a constitution, it was wild. But yeah, like, what got me into it is just like trying to build buildings, and you start to notice, okay, I want to make this look real. Okay, so you go outside and you see, okay, oh, I noticed buildings, they have the windows, they do this.
Right.
Let me try to recreate that. And then you start being like, oh, I've noticed that windows are like this, but like, this is why those windows are right there, like this. And so you start to kind of play that game, and you get better because it's like you're adding more detail, but you're not just kind of scribbling stuff. It's like, real. I guess what was it reminded of last?
How
how's
does it evolve
changed?
throughout your career?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's I went to college, and then got a master's in architecture, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna save the world, I'm gonna change everybody, and we're gonna be great. You kind of realize, like, all right, I know the limits of like architecture. Obviously, you really, I'm not trying to be like black pilled, but it's like, knowing what you can do and what you can't do.
Right.
Going into my program, I was very much like, no, like the building will change your life, right? So you build a building, how it's designed, how you move through the space, that'll totally change. If you're, dealing drugs and gang banging, you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to stop. It's like, okay, I'm being real. Like I was kind of thinking about architecture in that way.
Okay.
And after kind of just like life experiences and working, you kind of realize like it's a lot more layered than that. But by the way, it's like I'm not the only person who thought like that.
Right.
Le Corbusier is another architect who thought that way. I mean, he wrote a book, his manifesto called Towards a New Architecture. And one of the lines in that book, it's like we either have architecture or revolution. And he had a whole way of thinking. He's like, architecture, buildings are machines for living.
Right.
It was in the 20s. It was a very specific time where people were like really experimental with, they obsessed over machines, and everything was going to revolve around cars, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying all that to say, like, okay, I'm not that crazy in thinking that way, but for sure, I think that part of it has definitely changed after working.
All right. So do you think modern cities are designed in ways to encourage stronger communities, or are they contributing in isolation and social fragmentations?
They're doing both right now, and I'm saying that not to cop out, but I don't want to like completely throw away real work that real people are doing.
No, I understand.
Because they are actively trying to address the problems that me and smarter people have noticed and are talking about. But I would definitely say that architecture has definitely contributed to the alienation and isolation and general disconnectedness that has gone. People are now writing articles about the country. But I think what the part of it that gets missed it's in vogue right now to bash modern architecture.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan personally of modern architecture.
Yeah.
That said, I think there's a very big difference to look at something like the Barcelona Pavilion by Mies van der Rohe, or look at some of his other work in Chicago and see those buildings. Even with Le Corbusier, it's like, seeing his work as originally conceptualized and executed versus the bad copies that have been value engineered and, we're only kind of thinking about like, how do I maximize profit?
Yeah. How
do I build cheap, fast,
right.
In
like Levittown homes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like those are two different things.
Right.
And so they kind of get conflated on top of each other.
Gotcha.
And I think a lot of people are just like, oh, why would this even come about? It's like, well, there's a kind of a story there. But that said, yeah, you got to have to trace the history a little bit through, definitely the 20th century, early 20th century. You had the constructivist movement after the Russian Revolution, this idea of we're going to usher in a new world. There've been writers talking about, new architecture. People had been tired of kind of the Beaux-Arts style of architecture. It's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, people got tired of like, putting fancy column, things, capitals on things, and doing all this extra stuff, and people are like, just get rid of it, you know. And so you had that go through its kind of birthing process. Then you had the 20s where people were trying to experiment with like, there's that scene from Iron Man 2 or 3, I forget which one. I think it was Iron Man 2, where Iron Man's dad, he's watching Tony Stark, he's watching his dad on this like hologram thing, talking about like the city of the future and stuff like that. It's like,
right.
I always love that scene because I'm like, that was a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've heard of Democracy.
Yeah.
But Democracy was this idea inspired by the World's Fair, and people were like, "Oh, we're gonna create this new utopia, and this is what it's gonna look. It's gonna be highly technical.
Right.
It'll be very futurist." So thinkers were developing these things, and when I go drive by the Vine Street Expressway, you kind of see elements of this idea, but that was never fully realized because you had the World Wars, specifically World War II, and then you had economic, different economic incentives that made people say, well, make different decisions. So you're not really looking at the end result of the pure idea. You're kind of looking at a watered down copy of a copy of a copy idea. And so anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying, architecture is definitely, I think, contributed to the isolation. Democracy. Yeah, so exactly. Exhibit featured. Yeah. That's exactly it.
All right.
So you should definitely, for those watching at home, after you listen to the podcast, of course, go on YouTube, just type in Democracy, and you kind of just see it's just like the vision of these people, what they were trying to do in like the 30s, what they were thinking.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's actually very cool. It's like, it's really, it feels like Gotham City meets Coruscant.
Oh, okay.
It kind of has like,
I can live with it.
it's this weird Art Deco. Yeah, it's like it's really mind boggling. So,
and then World War II affected this plan.
Yeah, well, for a number of reasons. I mean, it affected Europe because effectively the entire civilization was bombed.
Right.
So Le Corbusier comes in. He's like, listen, we can't worry about things looking nice.
Right.
We're not worried about, utopia at this point. We're worried about, let's just rebuild.
Okay.
And let's rebuild very quickly so we can get people back to their lives. And you get the brutalist movement that way. And then you got a few movements kind of in South America because things are kind of, there's an inertia here in the States. You know, Le Corbusier is not going to just come in and start like, you know, redesigning every American city, especially like legacy cities like Philly or New York or Chicago. But Latin America developing, coming into its own in the, you know, the later half of the 20th century, they hire people like him, and he builds, you know, capitals for, I believe, like Argentina. He helps build like their parliament building. You know, he's kind of like laying out his vision for what modern city is going to look like. And again, their vision was everyone's going to have a car. Everything's going to be accessible by car. Again, like a Corbusier,
right?
The house, the building is a machine for living.
Gotcha.
Office building is a machine for working.
Okay.
So that's how he's thinking about these things. And you get into your machine for driving to go to your building for living,
right?
To your machine for living, and then you drive to your machine for working.
Gotcha.
And that's how things would be laid out.
All right.
And obviously,
a lot of gears,
a lot of moving parts. And honestly, when you actually look up democracy, I mean, it's kind of like that's kind of what they end up making.
You're right.
But anyway, all that to say, yeah, you had a lot of different, you know, you had the upheavals of the 1960s, social movements. You know, federal funds are, you know, diverted, to Vietnam, or, you know, the war on poverty, the Great Society kind of falls through. Because, you know, the Democratic Party fractures. You know, you have Nixon come in, and so it's just. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the weeds and bore people, but
I totally understand.
Yeah,
it's very interesting that like that's the model that they were kind of alluding to, and then even the fact they were able to like kind of predict that like everything is accessible by cars, you know, today wise. I mean, you know, you can even pass it to like the 90s and even before that a little bit. It's just like kind of bonkers to me, just like how people like thought of that ahead of the time.
Yeah.
And like architectures, like they're like the visionary people.
Yeah.
Like they, you know, it kind of leads to like how, one of my questions is like, how much responsibility do architects have influence in culture, behavior, even values of society through spaces they create?
Yeah. Well, we don't have as much power as I think people think that we do, and that's to my chagrin.
Okay.
Again, I thought going in we'd have definitely a lot more say, more influence. But this the economics of it. You know, it's most of it is you need a patron who's going to be commissioning the work.
Yeah.
That person with the money is going to be likely the person setting the agenda, telling you what you're building, what you're not building. Then you're also tied down by, so now you have a budget, and that's going to constrain what exactly you're going to be able to do, what your materials are going to be,
right?
What the vibe is. I mean, that's already kind of been given to you. So, but at the same time, and I know I hate these cop out answers, but you know, it is nuanced. And on the other side, we do have an impact. You know, we do create. In a way, architecture, the lived space, built environment is kind of the rubric. It's the you know, I said it in one of my other videos. It's basically your manifesto of your society. You know, a lot of people are complaining about, you know, well, you know, our homes cookie cutter and their suburban sprawl, all this stuff. But it's like, yeah, but like, that's America. Right. Like, it's like for better or for worse. Like that is America. Americans, we value convenience. We value this cheap, fast, scale model. Right. You know, and so that's what we're building.
Yeah.
If you want to do differently, if you want a different building or a different kind of building, we're gonna have a different set of values. Yeah. As a society. So, we'll definitely. I feel like we'll come back to this.
No, for real.
Yeah, but
no, for real. It's funny that you mentioned that. Well, one of our friends, Will and I, our friend Mike. So he creates. He's like, I think it probably is the Patreon to build like those apartments.
Sure. Okay.
And
so he's like a developer.
Okay. Yeah. For mostly in Philly.
Okay.
I think he just opened an apartment, I think in South Philly or whatever, or North, one of those.
Probably, well, North, because I don't know if they're doing a whole lot of construction in North Philly, except if it's like Temple area.
Right. Maybe South. He vaguely talked about it.
Sure.
We were at the bar, so like obviously not always there at the moment.
Yeah.
But like kind of leads to another question. Like one of our biggest issues today, specifically in the United States, and you can throw it to Ireland, is the housing crisis.
Sure.
And you mentioned like, you know, the biggest flaw right now is like people are saying like we're living in like a cookie cutter, like I want to say fast food type of buildings.
That's kind of, yeah.
But like, how does like architectures or how should we like people kind of deal with that? Like we're trying to create something more with our homes to like, we need there's a crisis and we need homes right away.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things is we need to build. We need to be able to build. One of the biggest hurdles and obstacles are all the codes and the way cities and municipalities will zone their projects. So you can't just build whatever you want wherever you want. And to a certain degree, I understand that and I respect that. That said, I mean, these rules get so arcane and so Byzantine very quickly. And so one of the first things I would say, it would be let people build. Let people get out there and build.
Right.
Once you start doing that, then we can start having a conversation about, okay, now what are we building? People will have different ideas of what that would be. Some say, let's build a series of flats, twins, whatever, all over. Some people say, like, let's actually go back to building towers. Actually, not a ton of people are saying that, but some people might throw that out there. And so I think, but I still want to kind of focus on the first part of what I said. It's like I think it is politics, because the way we do zoning in Philadelphia or like it doesn't matter where you live in the States. I'm just talking about America right now.
Right.
It's like that restricts so much of how a developer can say, hey, there's a piece of property. Here's how I want to have a relationship with that property. A lot of people who are in that world end up saying, listen, like, I'm not going to really invest long term. I'm just I'm going to cultivate and basically exploit this and then kind of dump it, 30 years, 40 years down the line. Yeah. So that's obviously going to have an impact on how you're building.
Yeah.
But if there's buy-in, if there's an idea of, well, listen, I can stay here and create something that's really useful that other people are going to be, I can pass this down to like my kids, or I can pass this down to, I don't know, whoever. If there's buy-in, then the scale and the level of what you're able to build, I think just kind of grows exponentially.
Okay.
But it's just like that initial kind of like, well, you're constrained in these ways. And then the other thing is just like the kind of the NIMBY, the like not in my backyard type mentality from like older people of like, I mean, that's the other part of the housing crisis. You have a lot of older people kind of holding on to, their homes. Yeah. And it's like, those people, they might be part of like housing associations that also further restrict kind of what is being built, how it's being built, that kind of thing. And so it's like, I think having a real dialogue and conversation about ways to kind of opening that stuff up would be a place I'd start personally. So.
Right. And you mentioned like the politics of it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump in deep water. For this the administration today and a previous administration, so Trump and Biden, like, is there a significant difference between their policies on construction or building like those homes?
Well, so the federal system, so the short answer is no, but it's not because necessarily either one of them has or doesn't have a coherent worldview when it comes to that sort of thing. It's more that because it's a federal system, every state has really the control.
Got you. And so this is state.
And then from the state level, then it's the county that you're in.
All right.
And personally, to kind of contrast this with Germany, like it presents a challenge. Like for me, right? If I want to be a registered architect, I have to get my license here in Pennsylvania.
Got you.
But I also now have to go still to New Jersey if I want to practice in New Jersey. Get the New Jersey license.
All right.
Because again, it's a lot of differences. But that's the federal system. That's the way the country's kind of set up. It's different from other countries like Germany, where it's like, hey, listen, it's a little bit more uniform.
Okay.
And I'm not saying we have to change that system. I mean, I would personally, I have tweaks I would probably suggest, but that's not really the starting position, I would say, in terms of like solving the problem. I think it's just, so to answer your question, when it comes to the president, it's like they don't really have that much of a control or direct say.
So it's mostly townships, communities.
Exactly.
So like whenever, when we hear debates and when they mention the housing crisis, we should take it as a grain of salt little bit. With
a grain of salt, but I think it is, Congress definitely, so the president can use his position as the bully pulpit to kind of say, listen, Congress, let's pass some federal funds to give to states they can allocate so that, if that's a direction people want to go in, or hey, like let's start lobbying, your local representatives in Harrisburg or whatever state you're in, to say, listen, like you should start passing some laws to kind of maybe like address the way we do zoning and the way we do some of the codes and the regulations for how we structure what can be built and how it can be built.
All right.
So for sure.
And sadly, that's not being done on the top as much.
Not really, from what I can see. I think it's just for a lot of people. Well, number one, if you're a homeowner, it's going to be somebody who's older. I think it's also people at that level, especially if you're in the kind of communities where they would have the leverage.
Right.
You're talking about kind of like, well, listen, we've kind of have a way of doing things. So that's kind of the entrenched doctrine and dogma. And so you have to first do battle with that. Excuse me. So yeah, I think it's good that younger people are starting to pay attention to this and are making conscious choices, which will have these downstream effects that are affecting some of the aspects of what I'm talking about. But
yeah, it's just a shame because like we're talking about generations and stuff like that. Like our generation, Gen Z, like we can't really get housing at the moment, and it's like a big struggle. On top of like the other aspects, like finding jobs, like all that all connects, and it's just like the way of life of societies. Like we're just struggling, and I'm not saying like it's on fire, but it's like starting.
I feel like it's on fire.
All right, not trying to put the whole panic button.
This is a question. Do you think that will go back to?
Oh, absolutely. I am a fan of generational households.
Okay.
I absolutely think that's going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense. Number one. In so many ways, when you look at like our parents' generation, their parents' generation, those are kind of like an aberration. It's like it's a deviation from how humans kind of organize ourselves, and I think we're kind of relearning. Like, oh, this is why our ancestors did this. Because it made sense. Like it solved so many problems at the same time. So it's like let's go back and do that.
Right.
So yeah,
that'd be interesting. My actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Connor's family does that.
Okay.
So he has his great grandmother living in the same house, and the grandmother, and then his mom and stepdad Kurt. So shout out to him. So it's kind of interesting to see that.
Yeah.
But obviously they live in like a freaking big ass house. So like,
and that's the way you would do it. And honestly, it builds. That's how you build community, because you have people now. Hey, I'm staying here.
Yep.
I'm rooted in this community. I care about this community. You're making changes. You're building new things. Maybe you're taking something down to build something else there. Also, it's training architects and builders to say, I'm thinking now long term, not just building a 30-year house. I'm building a 100-year house.
Oh, okay.
I'm building something that's going to last, and so that's going to influence how you choose materials, what type of materials you're going to put into that house.
Jeez, okay.
And for another passion project for me, that I've been doing with this my home renovation myself. I care about the health of the home. I think good health kind of starts with what materials you're bringing into your house, because if it's in your house, it's definitely going to end up in your body.
Yep.
I think like a lot of the mycotoxins, so like microplastics.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I'm not putting plastic plumbing in any of my my sinks and any of my plumbing throughout my house.
Huh.
I don't want it in my drinking water. I mean, the Philly water is already enough to contend with. I don't need to be purposely adding more stuff to it.
Right.
Formaldehyde in a lot of the binders and joiners that you use in woods.
Yeah.
So I only insist on plywood.
Okay.
I'm not using OSB, for instance. These are just different choices. And again, if we're building a generational home, you're thinking about, hey, I got mom and dad upstairs or downstairs. Right. I've got kids. You know, I want their health to be preserved. So yeah, I'm gonna build a house that reflects care for health and longevity. And I think it has all these knock-on effects. So
fuck yeah. Wow. Didn't realize how much the stuff goes into the homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like also referencing Connor, I don't know why he's part of this podcast, but it's fine. His dad is works in construction. Sure. So like again, building those like complex houses and stuff like that. And so he is planning on eventually building his own home. And it's kind of funny, like he is focusing on like the type of materials that he will place in his house, but also like the angle of the house. So like in particular, the wind.
Sure.
So he's trying to circulate it in order to cool the house or, keep it warm. So like the complexity of just how much goes into building homes. And this makes me go like bonkers because I didn't realize it, but learning more about it was interesting.
Well, another thing too, to kind of go back to the history, the style of modernist architecture, it's kind of called the international style.
Okay.
The reason is, the concept is basically it's divorcing itself from tradition.
Okay.
So when Le Corbusier is going to Buenos Aires, or he's going to Paris to unveil his design for what public housing would look like,
right,
or the government buildings should look like, he's speaking with a unified design language,
right?
That was to basically supplant any kind of traditionalist or kind of place-based architecture that had existed beforehand. Because again, a lot of people don't realize this. I mentioned the constructivist movement. It's a movement of art that came out of the Russian Revolution. What do we know about the Russian Revolution? What was the Communist Revolution? What was the Communist Revolution? What they're trying to do? Oh, they're trying to, equalize everything. Everything's going to be the same. Everybody's going to have the same access to the same things, and there's no longer going to be rich and poor. And the idea, and that idea was carried through with architecture, and Le Corbusier in his book Towards a New Architecture very much so piggybacks off of that ethos. So the universalist style kind of comes into play. It comes into its own, especially after World War II. And so it can be anywhere.
Right.
And so why does that matter? Why am I waffling on about this? Well, it matters because human beings have been designing for hot climates. They've been designing for cold climates. They've been, designing for wet climates. They've been designing for all sorts of different places. Anywhere there's people on the globe, people have been figuring out ways to deal with the inherent issues with living in that climate.
Right.
Well, when you've got modern architecture that says, well, hey, listen, we don't really need to care about, it being too dry or too wet or too, in the living space, because we just, put a air conditioning in there, run some hot water plumbing lines in there, seal up the house or the building and be internally managed.
Yeah.
That idea. Yeah, go ahead. That idea basically we now find ourselves in a place where we have to relearn. Oh, how do we build in a way to get air flowing and circulating in the home without relying on central air and central heating?
Right.
You know, how do we design a building that can stay cool in the summer and can be warm in the winter? You know, it's like, yeah, we had ways of dealing with this, but we've kind of lost that because our reliance. And I'm not beating up on AC or technology, but it is to say that we don't have to do it one particular way. We can. There's a lot of tools in the toolbox that we can choose from and use. I think we should.
Funny you mentioned AC. I saw a video of Europeans coming to the United States because of the World Cup, and they were fascinated with AC, and I just thought it was pretty interesting to see.
One thing actually on that, because all right. Well, actually, I'll let
you go.
I think the key missing thing for a lot of Americans is go to Europe. Okay, I had this experience. Right. I went to like the Normandy region of France like 2 summers ago with my fiance. And we were in the middle of June, and I was freezing. Okay, like I was on the beach, middle of June, in the Normandy region of France, and I was like really cold. Right. And I've had other times I'm in Germany, and it's like late August, or like middle August, late August. Here in Philly, that's gonna be like you're sweating. You're sweating. It's just like it's like soup outside. Yeah, but there are parts, what I'm trying to get at is there's parts of Europe where it's just like, that feels like back to school, fall, throw a light jacket on, get your boots and jeans on and, whatever. And I think a lot of Americans don't realize like Europe has like a totally different climate than in the States. And so AC is not, the lack of AC in Europe is not because, these silly Europeans are not, they whatever. Right. They're silly for sure, but like not. This is not the area that they're silly on. Right. It's that they don't need it. They don't have a reason to have AC for a long time. There wasn't a reason. Yeah. With recent global weather patterns, they've been dealing with like some freak heating situations, and so that is why a lot of people are caught off guard. But I just want to kind of clear that. So
that's a. Great to clear that. My friends sent me a video on that. I was like, what the hell? Yeah. And, I was like very confused because I'm like, we're not like above. Yeah. No, dead ass. Yeah. But speaking of videos, and we're going to move towards the content. First of all, can you kind of like explain and elaborate what kind of content that you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I do a lot of different things, and I'm in the middle of like a brand reinvention. I hate also the idea of brand. It's like it's just cringe to me. But anyway, I am trying to find my new voice as to what I'm trying to do. But essentially, I cover politics. I also cover culture and architecture. So I also dabble with art. I dabble with history, philosophy a little bit. But yeah, I would say the main thing I do, it's a political channel. So if you're interested in politics, that's kind of where I'm at. It's
and
the wheelhouse.
If you also can do a shout out to your platform too.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Cesario Africanus. That's my handle on Instagram, and then on YouTube. That one, stay tuned on that one because I got to do some cleanup on that one. But yeah. Right now, I'm just on Instagram. Right. So.
And those links will be in the description too. Yes. So we'll definitely post that. So whenever you get a chance, throw it to us. Yeah. But one thing I just want to ask, like, what first got you into making content?
So I think it's a long time coming, talking other people's ears off who might not necessarily want to hear what I have to say. Like my poor mother, who had to endure my rants about just different things. She was, by the way, I have to say, and I'm not just saying that because she's my mom, but like, I feel like she was very brilliant. She was like some of the stuff that she would know. I'm like, wow, you know that? Like, it's like philosophy or on history. She's actually one of the reasons why I was really into history, because she was, we'd watch PBS, things on PBS together growing up. So anyway, it's to avoid talking my fiance's ear off and avoid talking my mom's ear off that I decided, I think it's a good idea to start my own podcast.
Yeah.
I, was a huge fan of Joe Rogan.
Yep.
That was obviously an inspiration for me. And actually, I have a funny story. So the graphic that I had designed for my podcast, which was called the I think I'm going to keep the name. If I can remember the name of my own podcast. I have so many things on my mind. We're going to come back to it.
All right,
but anyway, I had made a graphic for it. It was like 2 days before January, the insurrection, quote unquote.
Oh, 6.
January 6th. See,
I actually have a friend whose birthday is
really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was like so funny because like I literally made this thing. It's a giant fist like kind of hitting a reset button.
Yeah.
The reset podcast.
Yeah.
So it's a reset button. It's a giant fist hitting the Capitol building. And literally 2 days later, it's like January 6th, or storming the Capitol.
Yeah.
And I remember like debating with my mom. She was like, "Oh, like you think this is like too violent?" It's like, "Oh, this is great. This is exactly what this country needs."
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, so anyway, I thought it was
how they aligned.
Yeah.
I remember that logo.
Yeah.
100% believe it. Yeah.
now whenever it's my friend happy.
Yeah, well, there you go. Which, okay, well, we can definitely get into it. I have so many thoughts on insurrection, not insurrection. I don't know. But I won't get ahead.
No, I got you. Yeah. All right. So, as someone who creates content around ideas and issues that can be controversial,
sure.
What challenges have you faced, and what advice would you give aspiring content creators?
Sure.
And what do you ultimately hope people take away from your work after listening or watching your content?
Well, yeah, I think being smart, and that's not me just being flip. I think, there's a smart way to kind of handle very divisive, topics.
Right.
I also think it matters what your purpose is. So for me, I'm a bomb thrower. I want to be a bomb thrower, but I have a reason for wanting to throw the bombs.
Right.
And so that's going to influence what type of bombs I'm throwing and how I'm throwing them.
Right.
All that to say, it's like, I think if you want to just basically, pardon my language, but they talk a lot of shit online. It's like, okay, sure, that's the thing you can do. It's a lot of people doing it. You might find that space is a little oversaturated, and so personally, that's just not my thing. But that's not to say you shouldn't talk on really very spicy things. And if that's your point of view, get up there and say what you have to say. So advice that I would give, I think it's just like, know your audience, know what your purpose is. That's actually the main things, like know what your purpose is. And if you have conviction, because I know for me, I don't know about you guys, but every time I feel like I get stage fright, every time I get in front of the camera, I'm sitting there like, oh man, all right. So really people are going to want to listen to what I have to say. And I'm like, yeah, actually there are people who want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. So you just think about that and just get on there and say it. And I think a lot of people discount themselves. And it's like, look, a lot of the first stuff that you make is probably going to be crap. You're going to look back on it. This is actually a good sign. If you can look back on your own work a year from now and be like, hey, oh man, that was terrible. I put that out. Like, yeah, great. That means you've grown. You were able to recognize bad work. You changed it. You're doing better work now. And you'll probably say that about the work that you're doing now. And it's going to keep going. And then you're just going to get better. So I just think it's just the important thing is make it exist first and then make it better later. All right. So
that's what we're dealing with right now. We had like first couple episodes where we're like, oh my God. Yeah. But then each time like
it just gets better.
Yeah. And
sorry, Brent. Probably back on this.
It's gonna be I'm gonna look back and be like, I said that, or oh man, like why am I fidgeting, or why am I making that noise?
Oh my God, you should see how I look at myself on my podcast.
Yeah, it's
because I did that. It was like my last week of school, and I just looked dead.
Yeah, dude.
Pale.
It's like it happens, and that's the thing. It's a thing you have to get through. You do it, and you look back and you laugh at yourself, and you're just you're like, hey, you know what? here's where I'm at now. You know? So
right. One thing, like, I'm very curious. We're gonna get another deep end question. Topic
Sure.
is talking about this controversy and just knowing the social climate of everything,
Sure.
and then what sadly occurred with Charlie Kirk a couple months ago.
Yeah,
and just like, is there and just also seeing like specific comments and how heinous, and then seeing other content creators going out. I think one person in particular I saw when they were talking about pro-life and pro-choice, and they had a big, like, a sign and people coming up and being violent towards them.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever have that fear towards yourself? And if so, like, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, for me, okay, the first thing is, what's the reason for me being in this space? Well, it is to kind of share and maybe hopefully cultivate a little bit of a following. Excuse me. So around ideas that I believe that I hold. And ultimately, I'd like to see that translate into political change, political movement. So that's kind of my goal. And I think with that, it incurs some kind of physical risk. And actually, I want to say something on this because I don't recall, and you probably looked this up. I believe Teddy Roosevelt had basically essentially saying, it kind of comes with the territory.
Right.
It is part of what it means to kind of be in politics. And I think in the modern world, we've really lost this the understanding of what we're doing when we're dealing with politics.
Yeah.
This is not to say that everything needs to come down to violence and we just need to shoot our opposition. But it is to say, like, you got to be prepared to deal with that. I think we just have like a lot of unserious people.
Right.
I think that's really what it boils down to. And it's not. I want to kind of go back to the Charlie Kirk thing for a moment. Okay. Because that really did affect me.
Yeah. I was gray when I heard the news. I was at work.
Dude, I cried, actually. Yeah. I was like, I had gotten off the phone with my fiance because we were talking about it. And I cried. And it's like, it's okay. Look, maybe you think it's silly, but I'm like, this was a kid who wanted to have a conversation. And I was never like a huge Charlie Kirk fan. I respected what he did. I respected what he said. I think he's a smart guy. Yeah. But to me, he was saying things that were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right, correct. Right. Yes. And he got shot for his trouble. And I think, I don't want to get into the controversies of like, oh, was it secretly this other person or another group? But just keeping it on Charlie Kirk, it's like, I think, I really respect what he did. It affected me, but I made a deal with myself where I'm like, look, that can't be, you don't get the heckler's veto. You don't get to silence everybody now forever because, I'd like to live. I'd like to be able to not have to worry about my physical safety. Yeah. But also it's just like, that's the nature of being and engaging in public discourse and in public policy. It's like, I think we've kind of like lost that. I don't know. Were you able to find that quote or not necessarily him?
Not necessarily like the.
Sure. All right. All right, yeah, I mean, don't sweat it, but yeah, I do think that it's something that some of my recent stories I've been posting about this too. It's like, there's a lot of.
I don't know if he said it or not because I'm looking at it now and it says like there's no like speech or it's not really saying there's a speech or anything where he specifically said that.
Yeah, right.
So it might have been. I'm thinking it was probably something that was said about Theodore Roosevelt after.
Well, I honestly think I actually remember hearing it on his documentary.
Okay,
and about that.
Okay.
I'm a huge
documentary.
Yeah. And I watched his documentary multiple times. I even got his book upstairs from Edmund Morris. Yeah, so I've been reading that. So I'm just like huge fan of him.
Yeah, same.
Especially his exploits with the Panama Canal. That was freaking huge.
Yeah,
I was
also just like the Rough Riders.
Yeah,
just like that's.
Yeah. It's really great history.
Yeah, I understand. And I think that documentary will also extend to FDR too.
Do you have the title of the documentary?
It goes on Amazon Prime.
Fine.
watched the PBS and Franklin when they labeled them as eccentric.
Yeah, it's not popping up.
Yeah.
It is not popping up. So that is sad.
We can find it later, but like,
Yeah, I can.
But like back to like the political situation. It's just it worries me of how people are acting. It's like they chose violence in order to just having a conversation.
Sure.
And this is another reason why I'm trying to like have this podcast, like having conversations from a array of different perspectives, and just like let's come up with a like common ground where let's understand each other a little bit more. Like another like a political figure that I like is Henry Clay, the great compromiser. Even though compromising wasn't always like too far, but like.
Well, actually, so not to cut you off too, I had this on my mind. You had a guest on. So we guys kind of got into the fifth clause of the Constitution.
Okay.
Compromise, and it's actually it's a misnomer. It's always brought up in the context of like this is an example of how the country was like so racist. It's supposed to be so look at this. They thought black people were treated as human, and it's like right, but that you're ignoring the greater context of what was being discussed. First of all, they're talking about drafting something to replace the Articles of Confederation, and they need to keep the Union together. Southern states were going to be a non-starter if they said, "Listen, you can't have slaves."
Right.
So keep those people on board. They were trying to figure out a way to do that, but also get this Constitution off the ground. The Southern states feared Northern political power, vice versa. Yeah. So the 3/5 compromise came down to who gets to vote and how do those votes get counted.
Okay.
And basically, I'm not trying to get too technical into the weeds. Essentially, it's basically we don't want the South, who don't consider their people that they have in bondage, people, but they want to have count as part of their population to give them more political power.
Yep.
That makes no sense. And so one of the actual arguments was, well, listen, I can own goats, but I don't count my goats as part of my population. So it was essentially saying, listen, you can count some of them. We're not trying to yet deal with the slavery issue, but we need to have you guys on board. Anyway, I just think that when people discuss that 3/5 compromise, it's always done from this perspective of like, you see, that's why America was totally evil from the start. It's like, no, it's not. I wish people would stop making that connection because that's not what anybody thought.
Yeah.
And that's not how they were thinking about that particular compromise. So I just wanted to say that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I never heard that before. That's interesting.
It's something political science too in school, and that was actually one of the things one of my professors was saying. It's just like that's not like it's not this.
Do you have any?
We believe specifically that.
Do you have any potential a source or something that talks about this interpretation of it?
Sure. I mean, not off the top of my head, but I mean, you can I would say this. Go back to primary. First of all, going back to primary sources, like the people at the time as they were discussing this, understanding the bigger political context.
Right.
Because I actually think that, and this because I've only heard this kind of. What I'm trying to say is, I think it's actually historical revisionism what we're teaching now.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, this is racist. This is proof positive of American ingrained racism that I only started hearing that post 2012.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when it became the way people thought about this. It's before then, it was basically because we learned about this also in my history class as well about listen, this was part of a broader conversation. And I haven't seen the movie Lincoln, but it's essentially it's listen, there are some people who want to end slavery, but going about it like it's 2026 is not going to help anybody in, some.
All right.
we're back in business.
Yes.
Indeed.
Awesome.
We're back in business.
Awesome. I forget.
Vaguely,
where-
yeah. But I know we were talking about the 3/5.
I can
Yeah.
this compromise.
Oh, wait. I can jump a little bit. Revision of history, 2012.
Yeah.
How,
Basically, I was basically saying I think it was this narrative is kind of like part of the historical revisionism of one of the reasons too, like, influenced my political journey away from the left. I mean, I like some of the claims, and again, I vehemently disagree with Black Lives Matter. I disagree with to the point where it's like it's shock. So I mean, I can start shocking people now, but it's like I can sit here confidently and say racism, if it exists, it does not affect Black people. It's not affecting Black people, and not in the policing. I've only seen one video, but that's not racism. But I've only seen one video where it's like, okay, this is an instance of police overreaction or brutality.
Okay.
But this is not, but to say this is racially influenced is completely preposterous.
Yeah.
So I would say that does not exist in 2026 America.
Okay.
What does exist is, I think, anti-white racism. And I will absolutely die on that hill. I think that is something that needs to be taken seriously. And so, yeah.
And can you elaborate on the
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think like all of our institutions, and also it's also very anti-male in my opinion.
Okay.
All of our institutions are trained at this point and designed to be very, exclusatory, if that's a word, against white people and particularly men. And I think that we have seen, and this is a kind of like a slow burn. It's not like on a dime it happened. But I think everything, that's the fact that like you could get away with making white dudes the butt of jokes, making white dude like talking about, oh, like I want to kill these white guys and we should whatever, all this stuff. Like you try, and I hate doing this whole reversal thing, but like imagine a person saying that about like that, the same comment, but applying that to women or applying that to Black people. You know, it's like people would lose their mind. And again, I need not bring up Irina Zarutska. I need not bring up Henry Novak in the UK. These are examples of institutional bias that cuts in the favor of minorities, Black and brown people, that is targeted against white people. I like just the fact that I even have to explain this to anybody, to me, is preposterous. But like that is my grounding of what I see as political reality right now in the West. But
I saw a video. I forget the guy, but he's a Christian preacher. He goes around to like schools and have conversations about the scripture. And he had a debate with the Black Israelites. And they called him the devil. Like
I've had my run-in with these guys too. But
continue on. I would care about that.
Well, I kind of went in attacking them. They kind of set up near Olney Terminal. And they were like, saying all this stuff. And I was just so, I get irritated. You asked me what got me into podcasting, because it's like, for me, it's like listening to stupid political arguments is like wearing an itchy sweater. It's just like it just rubs me to the point where it's just like I need to say something or I'm literally going to explode. So again, I'm listening to these people. It's like I think 2018, 2017, something like that. Say all this stuff, and I'm sitting there like, the fact that you get to stand here and say this stuff unmolested is proof positive that America does not have a racial problem with Black people at all. Because if it did, your butt would not be sitting there on that corner saying this stuff at all, because your ass would be in jail somewhere, disappeared. And that's not happening. And you should be very grateful, because actually you should be grateful to this country that you have the right to be an idiot. And so that's the first thing I would say. And so I effectively said something of that line to them, and they got very upset. And he was just like, you're being disrespectful. I'm like, bro, your whole platform is disrespectful to all sorts of different people. And yet you're incensed because like I'm not coming to you being like, well, listen, I understand. It's like, no. So yeah, I just the other part of this, and I feel like I'm definitely getting way ahead of you on as to where you're going.
No, you're driving right now. I'm gonna sit back and just listen and understand.
Yeah. Well, I think after this, I think it'd be helpful if I kind of like explain my narrative journey.
Okay. Okay.
But it's like, I'm sitting here listening to all this stuff, and I'm sitting here like, when did this like? These arguments are not good arguments. They're just bad. Every one of these Black Lives Matter, martyrs are all people where I'm like, this guy was committing a crime. He's in the middle or just finished doing something illegal. Why can't you just take the bloody punishment? Just take the punishment. Man up. Okay, you got me. I got caught. Okay, arrest me. I deal with the punishment. Why are you running? Why are you resisting? Why are you copying an attitude? I saw another video of the football player. He's like, the police is like tapping on his window. Yeah. He's like, roll the window. It's like, roll the bloody window down. Why is that hard? Why is it hard? Tell me. Explain to me why any of that stuff is hard. My view, by the way, this would go against, I think, everybody in the country. Okay, if the police officer pulls you over and says, "Jump out of the car and do the hokey pokey," your butt gets out of the car. You do the hokey pokey. You fight it in bloody court. That's why we have a court system. And my retort to anybody saying, "Well, the court system is like totally rigged against black," it's like, no, it is not. Actually, it is rigged. If it's rigged at all, I think it's rigged against white people, because the fact there was a shred of doubt at all that Austin Metcalf, the kid that stabbed the white kid.
Right. I saw
Austin Metcalf. I know was the guy who was stabbed. I forget. Yeah. Carmelo Anthony. There you go. Yeah, because I know he's also an athlete too. There's another guy, Carmelo Anthony, who's
right.
For the record, too, it's like, look, I don't follow sports. I'm not a sports guy, firstly, so that's kind of why. But like the fact there was any shred of doubt at all that this would not be an open and closed case against Carmelo Anthony, that tells me everything I need to know right now. That there is not some kind like there's no. They're not railroading black people. They're not like, it's not, oh, we're secretly trying to like harm all these like black people. It's like, that's not happening.
Okay.
Stop telling me that it's happening, because it's not happening. I see this with my eyes. I have eyes. I can see. I'm not an idiot. Apparently there's like millions of people who are, but it's just like, I'm not one of them. And I'm sitting here like, why are we having a debate about this? Why is this even a discussion in this country at all? So anyway, I this gets me very worked up, because I think it's a misdirect. So I want to kind of back up and try to explain how I got to where I'm at.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was earlier on the podcast, but I was a Democrat. I voted for Democrats. I worked on Democratic campaigns. I never, though, bought into the kind of the black narrative. I think a lot of African Americans kind of, to some degree or another, kind of find themselves awash in, and I equate that with my mom. Not that she was some kind of like anti-racist person, but she was like, I think she was much more concerned about, merit.
Okay.
She was much more concerned about like, go study. Be something, the only thing holding you back is you. If you don't get ahead, it's like you like, are you doing your best? Are you giving God your best? Like that was very much the foundation that she kind of raised me with. And obviously she, in the 70s, she got a full ride scholarship to Oberlin College. She was a very, very smart lady. And she was one of the only, I think, research, like after college, she was one of the only black researchers on one of the medical research teams, because she was pre-med. She was trying to go into medical school. But she never talked about, I was the first black, I was the only black person. Never came out of her mouth. That was just like, I just noticed it. I was the only one pointing it out, because she showed me a picture, and I'm sitting there like, oh wow, like you were the only like black person there. And she's like, oh yeah, that was true. Anyway, the point is, that was never part of my ethos growing up. So I think, and I at a very early age, I went to a private school with white people. There's all kinds of people. But it's predominantly white. And I got along with them. It's just like I had friends. Those guys, some of those guys are my friends to this day. My fiance is white. I don't have any problems with white people. I've never gotten problems from white people. I feel like if I am going to like be mad at any white people, it's just like it was during the George Floyd thing where it's like, if one more person apologizes to me on behalf of it, it's like, I'm going to lose my effing mind. It's just it's like, stop. You did nothing. Why are you apologizing? But so anyway, so I had a lot of that in my early formation. So fast forward, for me, it was always about class. Class struggle was always the thing. And obviously I'm a conservative, so I'm not a class struggle person, but it's not to say that I still think that the issues that are facing America are much better and are much more easily defined using the language of class. And particularly, I think it's about opportunity and how opportunity is distributed much better and much more precisely than it is talking about race. And actually, I think that this obsession with race in America is another ploy now that it's coming from the left to keep people divided, so that way it can keep serving as what a lot of Howard Zen fans like to talk about. It's like, oh, well, see, the whole racial divide started because they were trying to keep down the rebellions against the landed property owning class. And so they kind of started the lie of white supremacy to kind of keep the poor white folks in line. It's like, well, yeah, I think they're just doing that now in reverse. They're basically essentially keeping this racialized narrative alive. So that way everybody's now talking about race, or now gender and sexuality and all this other nonsense. And as a misdirect from the real issues, where it's like, well, listen, I can still keep robbing everybody blind and heading out the back door. You guys keep arguing about race. You guys keep arguing about, boys versus girls. I'm gonna get my money and head out the back door while you guys are fighting. So anyway, I think things kind of heated up for me during during the Obama administration. Another hot take, I think Obama, maybe not a hot take, I think Obama is the most overrated president in American history. I think that, yes, I do think that a large reason why he was elected was because he's the first black appearing person who can speak in a way that made enough people be like, I can understand what he's saying, I can resonate with what he's saying, and I like what he's saying. Okay. And that's why he got elected. I'm not saying that he's not a good speaker. I just don't think that what he's saying is particularly all that interesting or profound. But I think that's why he got elected. I think it was the country saying, like, yes, we are ready to have a black person as the president of the United States. This guy, if it's not this guy, well, who could it be? So people were like, make it this guy. This guy's the guy. And any kind of deviation, and I saw this early on with the way people in my community were talking about it, the fact that McCain even dared to run, the fact that the Republicans even dared, it's like, guys, I thought this was like a democracy. I thought this was supposed to be a race between two people that we think might have the edge. And we have them get into a ring, they debate, and we vote for the better person. Right.
And I don't know if you've seen this, but the amount of respect that McCain had for
absolutely, yeah, right. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I still remember the time when the woman was getting up in this town hall and saying like, he's a Muslim, whatever, and he's like, no, ma'am, whatever. He takes the mic. So yeah, absolutely. But it's just like people in my community were just like shocked that there was even a guy running against Obama. How could you run against Obama? I mean, it was supposed to just like anoint this guy the king of the country, and like that's how it works. Anyway, so I saw a little bit of that happening, and then moving in to like college, and then after college, like anytime anybody disagree with Obama, oh, because you're racist. Oh, you don't like his budget proposal. Oh, well, are you a closet racist? It's just like, guys, this can't be your default every time somebody disagrees with Obama in one of his policies. And that basically became the default of, well, if you don't agree with this narrative or you don't agree with this ideological push, that means you're a racist. And so that you just secretly hate black people. And it's just like, no, we don't.
Right.
And so then you had obviously the Trayvon Martin, you had all this stuff. And I just would say these things and be like, okay, but like, yeah, all right, George Zimmerman did this thing. And that, like, I started out neutral on that. I was just like, all right, look, like, I mean, why is this guy, shooting a kid? Like, what's going on? But, these things kind of moved every time. Then it was a Michael Brown. And it's just like, okay, but like, don't charge a police officer. Don't look like you're going to charge a police officer. I mean, I don't know. Didn't we all grow up learning that? Like, why, if you're stealing something, like, whatever. So these things kept happening. And I could never really, I would ask the question, okay, but he was committing this crime though, right? Yeah, but why does that matter? It's like, because it matters. Like, if you were doing a crime, you don't just get to do crimes because you're black. It's like, that's not how this works. Well, I mean, but you don't have to kill him. It's like, okay, but like, you upped the ante. Like, you did something that made the officer feel like, okay, well, this could go one way or it could go a totally different way. And I'm not willing to take that risk. And I'm like, okay, well, I side with the officers then.
Right.
And nobody's been able to convince me of like, yeah, listen, if you get stopped by the cops for any reason, your first reaction is not to argue. It's not to yell. It's not to be obstinate or ornery or any of these other things I see on a routine basis on every one of these videos. Your first reaction is, thank you, officer. What's the problem? Do what they tell you to do. And if you really feel as though that you've been mistreated in any way, you fight it in court. You say, I'm taking this to court.
Right.
That's what you do. That's what the system is supposed to be. And it's not working because people don't want to do that for some reason. They want to, nobody going to talk to me like that. It's like, dude, just calm down. Calm down.
Control your reaction.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah, it's a great setup.
I'm surprised.
So I would see these things and I'm sitting here like, yeah, look, I'm not sold. I'm not sold on any of this stuff. Then you had the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, and it's like, well, the NFL, they don't want me because it's like, dude, what are you like? They don't want you for a whole host of other reasons. Yeah. Partly because you're kind of an asshole. And so it's like, that doesn't.
It was not playing well too, by the way.
He wasn't playing well, and I'm just sitting there like, dude, like. So anyway, and again, this is also, I would always hear all the time, my favorite thing. Right, well, lived experience of black people. Okay, this lived experience of this black person is saying, I am not experiencing all the stuff that the media keeps hopping and insisting every one of us is experiencing. I am not experiencing that. Actually, when I see police officers, I'm always gonna like, what do I have to do to get you guys to actually acknowledge that I exist? Like, do I need to, okay, sure, I'm short. Okay, I'm not huge, I'm not big, but I'm sitting here like, all right, but like, you're saying it's like, oh, it's like any black, it's like driving while black, walking a neighborhood while black. Now, I need to say this because I think it's important. I had the experience back when I was working for a Democratic campaign in upstate New York.
Okay.
At the time, it was the New York 21st district. Okay. It was actually the election that saw Elise Stefanik first run and then win. Okay. And I actually got to speak to Elise Stefanik. I was supposedly to be like a Democratic Party plant to go to because my workplace at my co-op was hosting her at the time. And so they wanted me to kind of go in there and ask her some like gotcha questions and then film it so that way they can say, oh, like, you know, run ads, I guess. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I feel weird about doing stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of low. So I kind of backed out. But I did ask her a question. It was some super 2014 specific question. But anyway, I only bring that up because as I was canvassing for her Democratic opposition, I was stopped. And I knew I was stopped immediately. I saw the officer come and, it was in the fervor of like, oh, all these black people getting killed for no reason, supposedly. And so, I'm like, all right. So I see this officer come, and I look at his face, and he's like, he's already like, like, F my life, man. Like, why do I have to deal with this? So anyway, he comes up to me. He's just like, hey, listen, I got to do this. I got a call basically that just somebody's like walking around the area, whatever. I was like, hey, yeah, no worries, man. I'm just kind of doing some like he was already like walking away from me to go back to his car.
Right.
I was like, hey, man, like, listen, do you need to see what I'm doing? Like, I got the, he's like, no, it's fine. Like, whatever, just go back to what you're doing. I just had to check it out. And so I was just like, yeah, look, I got stopped probably because somebody saw a black person in the neighborhood, you know, knocking on, it was like a relatively wealthy neighborhood, knocking doors, leaving like literature there. And I'm like, look, I get it. It's not great, right? As a black person to be like, well, why do I like, that wouldn't happen if I was white. That wouldn't happen. It's like, yeah, you're right. But here's the question, and this goes to the bigger theme as to why I'm so animated about this topic. It's just like, well, why do you think that is the case? Why do you think it is the case that I would get stopped, but you guys probably wouldn't get stopped? Just why? Why do you think that is? And it's just like the uncomfortable elephant in the room. It's like we all know the why. And the issue that makes me angry about this is that it's not all black people. It's not most black people, but it's always a black person usually when we're talking about certain types of crimes and connecting. It's just like we have the problem. I think my view is every racial group has their own problems. They have their own advantages. They have their own struggles. We seem to have this issue with like we have a lot. We have a certain set of issues, and I think why is the question never, why are we over-indexed in the criminal justice system? Why are we over-indexed? And I'm not coming at this from this angle of, because America just hates black men and want to throw us in jail. It's like, no, that's not it. Okay. I'm a black man. Okay. No, I literally have to beg people to be like, hey, throw me in jail. And it's just like, that's not happening. So I guarantee you that's not some secret plot to throw every black man in jail. Okay. It's the fact of the matter is that when I go somewhere and I conduct myself where other people go and conduct themselves, it's like most of the time they're like, I'm trying to get the work done. I'm trying to do my thing, feed my family, live my life, be an American, whatever. Okay. I'm not trying to cause a scene. I'm not trying to do all this extra stuff, you know? But it's a very vocal minority of people in my community that insist on like, well, no, you're just criminalizing black culture. Okay, well, why does black culture have to be the thug? Why does black culture have to be some, acting like an idiot? I'm sorry. It's just, I'm really tired of this. Right. And it's frustrating to me because it's like I get lumped in with you guys. It's just like you insisting on this. Now I get lumped in. Now I get the apologies for things from friends of things they didn't do. I'm just like, guys, stop apologizing. Like, what are you apologizing for? Right. And then on top of that, it's also like, oh no, bro, you got to be into like Nikes. You got to be into like hip hop. You got to be into like, all this other stuff. I'm like, I want to talk about Napoleon. I want to talk about like the Battle of Hastings. I love European history. I go to my fiance. I'm like, the biggest thing I want to do with her is I'd like to go to a Vienna ball. Like a classic old school, old style ball where you get dressed up in ball gowns and the guys wear a tuxedo with tails. Yeah, and you go.
That sounds so awesome.
And I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Germany and go, oh, well, hey, they have a large population of black. It's like, cool. I can go to New York for a large population of black people. I want to see something I don't see every day. And that's that. But it's just like, as like a black person, people come up to me and tell me, oh, well, yeah. Why do you want to live in the village? Well, because I like space. Oh, don't go in the village. It's like racist over there. It's just like, I probably doubt that they're racists. And to the extent that they're racist, they're probably like, yeah, listen, I see from the media a certain image and you look like the people who fit that image. So, okay, who are you? What are you about? Right. I think that's totally fair to be like, hey, listen, what are you about? Who are you about? Why don't you just demonstrate to me what that is? And I'm like, oh, well, this guy's actually a pretty cool guy. All right, yeah, I don't mind him living here with us. I think very few people are actually like, I just hate black people. I don't like black people. Even if I met a black person who's basically just like me, I still hate that guy. That person does not exist. Or if they do exist, that person has almost like no power, no authority. They have no real relevance at all in 2026 world, let alone America. But we run around acting like somehow this is like a latent threat.
Right.
So that to me is some of the, in a nutshell, and I could go on and on and on about this.
No, I totally understand.
I feel like I just totally hijacked this entire thing.
No. The story is on you. Like that's for sure. And you know, there's another reason why, you know, I felt like this podcast in particular is going to be very striking because, like, all right, I'm going to throw some people on the bus, but I learned recently that at the college that we went to, there's a club of those who are black, and they kicked 2 other black people out of their club because they voted Republican. Apparently didn't fit the description on what their like this one group's ideology. Yeah. And you know, for me when I heard that, I'm like, that kind of goes against to what the club is supposed to represent. Yeah. And it goes back to a show, Prince of Bel-Air with
Carlton, Will Smith.
Yeah. And he got kicked out of the group. Yeah. And or wasn't allowed to be part of the club and a fraternity. I mean, and I was like, that's kind of bothersome. And then you know, I have black nieces and nephews. Yeah. My brother-in-law is black. My sister-in-law is black. And you know, they always talk about like they don't want their kids to play the victim card. Yeah. Because it's like they don't they want to empower their kids. Yeah. And don't really care. Like they acknowledge like, yeah, there's some aspects of like maybe there's racism, but it shouldn't affect them and keep them down. Yeah.
Well, two really quick, not to cut you off. I'm actually, please continue after I ask. But 2 points of clarification just for me. Are they like adopted black or is it like they're mixed race?
Mixed race.
Yeah. All right. So there's one thing. Actually, I had this conversation with my fiance, and it's like it drives me. So I want to be on the record of saying this.
Got you.
It drives me nuts actually because I'm like, why is it that when a black and a white person come together and they have a kid, it's like that's a black kid? Right. It's like no, that's a mixed race kid. Okay. Like for me, I'm like I am not raising a kid denying half of who he is or he is. Okay. I love my wife. Yeah. I love my eventual wife. Why would I want to deny her? You know, why would I want to deny her culture, her legacy, the thing, the people, the richness that comes from her tradition, her side of the tradition? Yeah. Why would I get rid of that? And then the second thing is just like the reason this ideology persists is because it's like, well, back in the old days when America was racist, you know, they said when 1 ounce of black blood means you're totally black. So your method now for determining who's black and not is a racist origined thing. And so you want to hold on to that? Interesting. Why? What's the point of that? So for me, I'm just sitting here like, listen, I think we need to, and so I honestly, and I've dated, you know, a fair share of like, you know, white women before I've met my fiance, and it's just like, it's like, especially American, like, well, there's a couple of problems. One is like, as a black guy, good luck trying to find like an actually conservative, like if you're dating like white girls or whatever, it's like finding an actually based conservative like white chick, because it's like I just feel like I don't know, it is something, and this is also another thing that's coming up in the right wing ecosystem right now. This discussion, and I know a lot of those guys would probably not be happy with me because it's just like, well, I'm kind of going against if you're a purist, if you're like a blood and soil purist, like whatever. Interesting. Yeah. They're not going to be my biggest fan, but you know, one of the things that I like, kind of lost my train of thought there. You're one of the things I just think about is like, you know, I think finding a real conservative, like anybody of any race, it's just like it's just really hard. Yeah, it was hard for me. And what do I mean by conservative? I'm like, like they're gonna look you in the face. I'm like, don't bring some like racialized victim BS to me. Right? Like, they'd look you in the eye and be like, dude, they laugh. Yeah. If you you don't know what it's like to be black. If their reaction is not laughter, then she's probably still like a little bit hint of like liberal. And so, I love my fiance. We sometimes clash. She's a little bit left of center than me on certain things, but and that she's But I think in the English speaking world, in America in particular, that is it's got a grip on people like nothing, like something fierce.
Right.
And so I'm only just saying that because I'm like, I've heard this.
Right.
I've had this discussion with other girls, other women before. I'm like, why are you insisting that? It's like, how, like, also as a person, I'm just like, how do white people like think about that and be like, yeah, I'm just basically denying myself. I hate myself. I hate my mom, my dad. I mean, maybe you do. I mean, I feel like that's partly of where this is like a lot of the stuff is coming from. But I'm like, listen, I don't hate myself. I don't hate the fact that I'm black. We've done a lot of cool stuff. I just feel like the stuff that gets highlighted is all this like weak ass, like stupid stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to focus on other stuff that's not lame and not just like, oh, I'm we're just so poor and pitiful. I need the white man to do this or stop doing. It's like, no, dude, I'm doing my own thing. Join me or not. But so anyway,
no, I feel
that's the one thing I want to.
No, I got you. I think it's interesting because like there was another debate I saw online. I forget the guy's name, but he's a black man. He was talking to some kids in college, and one person in particular was like, America hasn't done anything right with me.
Yep.
And he's like, really? And he said, asked her, like, saying you're dressing really good. You have your purse. Like, what kind of purse is it? Like, she's like, Coach. I'm like, your hair's fine. Your nails are even perfect.
Yep.
America looks good on you.
Yep.
And when I saw that, like, a part of me, like, I go back and forth with it because growing up, I was told like the white man just like, we did something horrific, obviously, but like we were told that we're bad people right off the bat, and like talking about like racism or just like culture in general, like how I feel in particular, we're not allowed to speak for whatever reason. Like we were told to say sorry, and like when I kind of started like growing and learning more, I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. So like, why am I saying sorry for it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, I started taking that approach. I'm like, am I sorry? Cause it had nothing to do with me. And, we started having that approach, and I have a lot of like liberal friends and Republican friends, and mostly for the liberals, like now they're labeling me as racist.
Yeah.
And I was like, how am I racist?
Yeah.
I like growing up, like, I grew up with black people. Like they were all my friends. Yeah. And I actually, like, similar to the NBA basketball player White Chocolate, like I kind of like catered to them a little bit more than the white kids. And like I don't know. I've never seen like a difference. Like it is what it is. Like we're poor. So it's like, all right, cool, we're poor. Like we're just going through the struggles. And I also remember like some of the white friends, like, just like, why are you hanging out with them? It's like, why not? Yeah. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm in they're good people. We listen to music. We're hanging out. We're struggling together. And that's like a community and bond that I just like kind of like gravitated towards. Yeah. And then, like going to college recently, kept my mouth shut because I know the climax of it. Yep. And knowing that, one of our buddies, he kind of got like kicked out of the group because, I mean, like all the people are just thinking that he's just a racist. It's like, he's from Ireland. He has a different way of living. And he's just like, he's like, don't call me anything that I don't want to be called. Yeah. Just don't call me that. Yeah. And they called him something, and it's like, now because of that, everyone stopped talking to him. Yeah. And, I see that happen so many other times where, like, when we talk about other policies, like, a pro-life, pro-choice cause so much conflict where, family split. Yeah. Or, gender split. And then now today with, Iran, Israel, and all the other stuff, like there's a conflict and there's a like weird like split to a point where I don't want, like, they are one side in particular, I'll say more is the liberal is like, we can't associate. We're going to cut them out and kind of like cut them out from the community. And I feel like in theory, like the Republican Party or just the community is just like, are kicked out of communities. They're having
You're
their
saying
voices.
like the Republicans are like getting kicked out of communities,
Like,
or like
it's to a point where like people disassociate those individuals.
Yep.
And they're now on this weird island.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why are we keeping them away? Like, we're part of the same group. Like, like if there's a disagreement, let's
figure that
have this conversation. Let's come up with a compromise. Let's define what the problem is clearer and get to the root of the problem so that we don't have to deal with this anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to probably take a lift, to be honest.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So,
got you.
I'm just trying to make sure.
No, I appreciate it, though. That's awesome. Yeah.
So, I also just want to pivot to one thing in particular, like I mentioned the Iran and the situation at this moment, like coming from the Gen Z point of view right here, like, why is that important for us to like learn a little bit more?
Sure.
And how, besides gas prices, how does it affect us today and in the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a little bit of a jump, but it's a good jump. But it's a I feel like a lot of these things tie in together, and so man, I hope you bring me back on another podcast. I'm like, it's like I have so much more I want to like talk about with this, but you know. Look, I'm not going to make any bones about it. I come from the camp of the America First camp. I voted for Donald Trump the only time I voted for him was in 2024. I proudly voted for him. The thing I was voting for was no more wars in other countries.
Yeah.
Let's focus on America. Let's stop the wokeness. Okay. That is a cancer on our society. And he's calling it out, and it's time we deal with that. And that's why I voted for him. When I walked in that booth, I was with my fiance, and because my voting place still registered in like a predominantly black neighborhood, and people was like, "Yo, what you mean by that?" You know, whatever. I was sitting there like, "Yeah, it looks like, bro, like I don't agree with you, and I'm tired of pretending like I do, or like I'm trying to hide like it's wrong. I get to vote for who I want to vote for,
right?
And Kamala Harris is frankly not qualified in any way, shape, or form to be president. So anyway, putting that aside, to answer your question. I'm of the belief that we had 6 months of a presidency of an administration that I was like, this is Christmas, birthday, you know, all the holidays wrapped into one, given in 6 months, and then we pivoted by bombing Iran the first time. And for me, I'm sitting there like, this is evidence of the capture that has been talked about, but I think is more nakedly visible now than ever before. And so, well, why does that matter? Well, we keep having these arguments, right, over infrastructure. We started out talking about housing.
Yep.
We're talking about cost of living. All these things that actually are impacting people and are affecting how people live and can't live. And you know, we keep having these discussions about like, well, you know, it's because of those white people, you know, it's those racist white people. No. It's actually because of those lazy black people. Well, actually, no, it's because of men. Men suck. No, you know, it's like those women, those stupid women going after Chad. And it's like, all right. So you do realize, though, that there's a cabal. Yeah, I'm going to use the word cabal that basically runs the government, both arms, left and right.
Right.
And we're seeing how every time we keep voting for, just no war, right? All of us are voting for no more wars, and doesn't matter which one, right? Biden, we'll pull the troops out of Afghanistan, but we're gonna dump money into Ukraine, and we're gonna probably goad us into World War III with Russia,
right?
Okay, no, that. Okay, Donald Trump, no more wars. Okay, yeah, great. We're gonna no new wars, except we're gonna bomb Iran, and so it's like. So now I've lost track, you know, and I knew this MOA was not going to happen. We're not going to keep the peace with Iran. And here we are. And so I'm sitting here, okay, why does this matter? Because it's like Lucy in the football. It's like, it's a reference to the Peanuts. Charlie Brown, he goes back to kick the football and Lucy grabs it away from it every time. I'm like, that's us. And at what point are the American people going to say, like, stop? Like, I know what you're going to do. You're going to take the ball away when we go to kick. So I'm not kicking anymore. I'm not playing this game anymore. So why should Gen Z in particular care? Yeah. It's like, because nothing useful is going to happen by playing the same game and complaining that the game that you're not winning or that the game is not producing the results that you want. Right. It's going to require bold action. It's going to require thinking outside the box.
Could you give us like examples of like the bold actions? Yeah. Or is something like that?
Well, I don't know if it might get you kicked off of YouTube, but today, I saw a post somebody reposted from X, Marjorie Taylor Greene, talking about today is time for a renewal of the 1776 spirit, against the elite. And I'm sitting there like, I'm sick of people saying that, but like no one ever actually means what that actually means. Right. And one of the things I actually think about this from like COVID, it's just like this country is like, oh yeah, we got guns here, Second Amendment, whatever, yada, yada, yada. It's like, I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, okay, well, this country cannot at all talk about, I heard this also with like January 6th. It bothers me to like no end. There's no room for political violence in this country. It's just like the country is founded literally on political violence. Like there wouldn't be a country if it wasn't for political violence. Well, but that's different. Why is it different? Well, it's like, actually, I can make a very coherent argument as to like, no, this was an insurrection of against a legitimate government over actually a very relatively reasonable set of demands. Actually, it's a very reasonable set of demands. I'm not going to go into it because I feel like you guys are like having not enough time left over, but it's an interesting discussion to have. But it's like, okay, so you're telling me that over a 2% hike in taxes over like a legitimate, like, yeah, we paid to keep you not under French rule. So you need to kind of contribute. That's why we have this whole colonial system going in the first place. Nah, I don't want to pay that. Yeah, but bro, you kind of do need to. We helped, right? So we're in this together. Nah, I'm good. Yeah. It's like, no, bro, that's actually that's a legitimate ask. Anyway, setting all that aside, I love America. I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't have done it, but it's just like, okay, so when do we become people who are ready to revolt over that? Yeah. Well, listen, I just think that, political violence, there's no place for it. It's just like, when says who and since when, And then if that's your standard, does that apply to that too? Or is it selective? And if it's selective, well, why can't I say, well, no, I actually think it is okay now for this because this thing actually does require that. Yeah. The point I'm trying to make, I have not given up entirely on the political system. Yeah. But I am saying that I do believe that our leader, I believe this fundamentally wholeheartedly. Our leaders look at us with contempt. They have contempt for you. They have contempt for me. They don't look at us as they look at us as objects to move around on a board and to
just a number.
Just throw them some red meat. The plebs want, we'll just make up some stuff about like, George Floyd. Okay, have fun. And it's just like, and people fall for this every time. Right. And so I'm saying like, no, what first of all, I'm not condoning necessarily, and honestly, it's just for legal, so nobody gets in trouble. Gotcha. But it's just like, yeah, listen, if you're asking me to like disavow as categorically political violence, I don't. I really don't. I think that name me a single country on earth that's not established itself through, we came together, dialogued, and we all had a sip of tea, and it was great. It's like that's not happening. France. France. Except for France. I apologize. Those heads, heads, those were just decorative.
Right.
Just decorative.
Right.
So anyway, I'm long-winded, and I'm not trying to dodge the question. I think like in a serious way, I think getting involved, actually caring, doing your homework, doing the research, following, one of the things too, it's like, I was never a sports guy, but the fact that there's people who know more about like sports stats of like, it's like, dude, like you should be like, I'm not saying have your hobbies. It's fun. I'm not saying it's not fun, but that can't be the thing. Like, there's actually more important stuff to care about. You should care about that. So, that's the first place to start.
Yeah.
I think what I mean by the political violence aspect of it is like, I think there needs to be like elites in this country, the government in this country needs to kind of have a sense of genuine, like, we're deeply concerned.
Okay.
Like, I think getting it to a point where the government is like, we are very concerned here. And so, like, I think that is probably enough to kind of get and I have no idea what that means, and I'm not going to start here.
No, I got you.
What that should be.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that should be enough to basically say, like, yeah, we can kind of get the policies that we want.
Right.
We can start kind of paying attention to the home front instead of gallivanting all around the world.
Yep.
Doing stuff that nobody voted for.
Right.
So that's
no.
I'd like to talk about more of this stuff because I feel like there's a whole. I mean, I sent you a bunch of stuff too to speak on, but
well, before we really conclude, one thing I was just curious.
Yeah.
So I've learned throughout history and poli science that there has been multiple political realignments.
Yeah.
With the parties and stuff like that, and then two ideologies I feel like has been here through history, but also just like it's becoming, I will say, more mainstream, and the names are being tossed around very loosely. One ideology is fascism.
Sure.
The other is communism.
Sure.
And the fascism being labeled to the Republican side, and then communism to the Democratic side. First, do you think those ideologies will be implemented in the future, like of how the whole political realignment with what fascism, the pure definition of what it is, and then the pure definition of what communism was at that time? Like, do you think that's going to be the new ideologies, or also do you, like, what are your thoughts when people on both political sides are throwing those names? And for those who may not know about these two ideologies, if you can like define them.
Sure. Well, so there's kind of three questions there.
So sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'll start with the middle one.
Okay.
In terms of what do I think about people using those labels? Yeah, I really hate it. I think America has a hard time, I think, with nuance and actually understanding. It's all political theater.
Yeah.
You know, it's all just like, what's the worst thing I can call my political opponent, as opposed to making an argument. And actually, I think this is a larger critique on democracy.
Okay.
So, you know, if I'm being entirely honest, I think I'm coming from more of a monarchist tradition.
Okay.
I will play the Democratic Republican game, but I believe that democracy is kind of largely a scam in a lot of ways.
Okay.
That said, so that's why you kind of get the slop. It's like, oh, this guy's a communist. Oh, he's a fascist. It's like, first of all, none of you know what that even means. And then two, it's just like, you're just saying that because you're trying to just rile up and activate the biggest swath of idiot voters so that you can kind of basically push your side through regardless of like merit.
Right.
So that's what I think on that. The first part of your question, which I think kind of ties into the third part.
Right. And can I clarify why I asked that? Like,
sure.
I learned in political science in particular, like, I actually learned about the German government, like the social democracy.
Sure.
And one of the things I saw is like, I forget the actual names of their the parties, but the conservative side, they like apparently are quote unquote considered to be fascists. And then
in Germany right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that was when I saw it was early 2020.
The AFD.
Yeah, you're probably talking about the AFD.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe. All right. and or maybe another country as well. But I saw that
had their, I guess, also had
right,
dancing.
right.
Well,
Maybe it was Italy. Top of my head, I can't really remember. That was like 2021.
Yeah.
But like I'm seeing that a lot of like things or trends from Europe is now like finding its way over here.
Right.
And then
I think the reverse is also happening.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just seeing that. I was like, wow, well, like I know we had the fascist ideology in the 1930s and stuff like that. There was like a party and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like seeing it now, I guess getting back into the media because like it went away.
Right.
And then now being like people being labeled as that. Like at a bar, I saw someone get thrown out and then called like you're a fascist.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Yeah. Like there was like I was like, wow, that's where we live in right now.
People, people don't know what those terms mean. I think I'm not just picking on one side or the other. They throw it around. It annoys me when I hear Republicans. Well, this is communism. Right. And it annoys me when I hear, because like you don't know what that's not what this side is saying. It's like that's not what that is. So anyway, so putting that aside, I will say I actually do think though fascism is going to make a comeback. Yeah. I think it's going to make a comeback, but not as like a literal copy. Okay. But I think from what I'm seeing and hearing online from the right, from the especially kind of like. Yeah, in the wing that I think I would describe myself being part of, I think that's probably the next logical step. I think you're already kind of seeing kind of like a dance that's happening. And I think the next, and some of the things they're saying, it's just like, like go read Mussolini. It's just like you're basically saying what he's saying without like without calling it the thing that he called it. Yeah. And then so. I wanted to say that. The second thing is, I think a lot of people are combining and equating things that are not equated. I don't know how many people realize this, but it's like a fascist is not the same thing as a National Socialist. Okay. The Nazis are not the same thing as fascists. Right. And they're not even like it's also to the point where it's like they're not even. You can't really, they're not interchangeable. It's just like, because when you're talking about National Socialism, you're talking about a very specific, particular set of ideologies that are not adopted by Italian 1920s style fascism. Okay. And so we can get into what that is. I think a lot of people use fascism as shorthand for authoritarian. They use it for shorthand for racist. They use it for shorthand for you want to genocide a bunch of people. And it's another way of basically saying like you're the devil. Again, this goes back to like the post-war kind of load-bearing mythology of everything we've built in our modern world has its, origin in post-war in the post-war world. And again, I think that having it there is kind of a functionary of like, listen, if I don't want to like deal with my opponent, I can just say like, listen, you're like Hitler, and so, and
I think that they did that.
I mean, they're trying to do that in Germany with the AfD. They're trying to basically, I mean, I see articles about this all the time. They're trying to shut down that part. Like this term far right. Like, I mean, what does that even mean? Far. What is that? What is that? People say, oh, the far right, whatever. And so it's just like, it's one of these scare words. Again, it's because it's democracy. I think that it's the function of like, it's like you're not even respecting your audience. It's like, I think my audience are idiots. So I'm going to say, he's the far right. And that should have the effect of everybody's going to be afraid and run away. And it's like, okay, well, they're realizing people are like, okay, well, if me voting for a party to say I want less immigration is far right, then I guess I'm far right. So I think people are saying that now. Okay. And so, and to quickly wrap it up, like to define those terms, I mean, I think fascism is really hard to define, not because I don't know what it is or people don't know what it is. It's hard to define because it takes on like different forms. This even specifically in terms of like World War II, right? Like you had fascist movements.
Yeah.
In Germany, obviously, Spain, Italy, France,
Norway too, I think.
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
Britain. But they all valued and did different things. Now you can say we can bundle them in a series of ideas, and so I will explain kind of what that is. Typically, it's basically a version of state control that dominates. It's like a cultural right-wing traditionalism,
right,
mixed with a kind of combined economy. So it's like it's partly state controlled, but there's also a capitalist
approach to it. I saw, like, I was just on Instagram, there was a post about like the political definitions of everything. I if I can grab it, I thought it was interesting because I was like, oh shit. All right. So this is not the music. So they define it, fascism, authoritarian nationalism with centralized power. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's not complete. I mean, it's. I mean, because I could describe the Soviet Union that way. It's authoritarian, it's centralized, and it's about power. It's like there's more to it than that.
Right.
It's usually a hearkening to kind of a national renewal.
Okay.
That I mean, these are like themes that are part of it. Right. But it doesn't make it necessarily fascist because again, you can say, listen, before fascism being introduced by Mussolini, you had movements in the past who were like, this is about revitalization, this is about national renewal. Those weren't fascist movements. They had those elements to it. So anyway, but yeah, that's going to be part of it. But I think, again, that's succinctly put. I'll do it two ways. One, it's about saying you're combining conservative or traditionalist instincts and in terms of hierarchy and cult civic nature, and you're combining that with state control that manages to kind of bridge all aspects of society around one idea or one goal. And you still, and then so society is kind of working itself with that. So that's why you still have capitalism. It does exist in that system, but it's and actually, to be honest, if you want to see a modern version of actually what fascism is, it actually would be China. It would actually be what China looks like. I mean, that's kind of what the definition would be. One other thing I would say, even to dumb it down even more, would be if you kind of think about the liberal, and I mean that kind of in the long march, kind of since the Enlightenment. It's about saying, okay, what's the organizing principle of the revolution? Fascists are saying the organizing principle of the revolution is we're dividing the us versus them. It's everybody who's in this national border. That's us. Everybody outside of that is them. That's the dividing line. For the National Socialists, that's race. So for Hitler, Germany is not a place. I mean, it is a place, but it's not just the physical boundaries drawn on the map at the time.
They're the Holy Roman Empire.
It's
that's tied back to the
which
that came from the Caucasus Mountains.
Which expands, which is why it was his foreign policy was expansive in terms of an incorporated Belgium, Denmark, Norway,
Austria.
Exactly. Britain, when you look at,
I mean, like they had a weird relationship.
They had a weird relationship. Again, we don't have the time to go totally into it. I want to. Oh, and that's why I'm like, please bring me back on. Hopefully,
definitely.
But yeah, like, all that to say, that's kind of, and then the last would be, okay, if the organizing principle is around class or race or something else like that, then you're talking about like that's the communist, but more specifically around class. You're talking about that's the communist form of government, or ideology. So,
and I thought it was interesting because like the video I think is called Middle Ground, and they had those type of Republicans coming in and
you're talking about the
or Surround or whatever it's
called.
Like
Surrounded, yeah.
And I don't know, I say I was
You're talking about
very
the one kid
unaware.
that called himself a fascist or whatever in the debate. Yeah. Again, it's like I think I get what he's trying to do. It's slop, right? He's playing the game of. Actually, one of the questions I thought you were going to ask me, it was going to be interesting on how you would define how I would define social conservatism and how would that square with progressivism, right?
Right.
It very much, and I had a whole thing. I was just like, look, I think it framing it that way buys into the frame, which makes it that I cannot win that argument. If I buy into this concept of like progress, then by definition, I can't be part, like my worldview can't be considered progress. So anyway, but in the same way, I think that kid is kind of doing the same thing. When he said though, yeah, I'm a fascist. It's like, yeah, you're basically, I think he was talking to Mehdi Hassan.
I believe so. Yes.
It's like you're basically buying into his frame of reference. He's saying, right, you're a fascist because you want to like lessen immigration. You're a fascist because it's just like that doesn't make you a fascist. None of that stuff, none of those policies that kid probably supports makes him fascist. It makes him like a right winger. It makes him somebody who's a traditional Republican, most likely. Honestly, it makes him like a normal person who's ever been in a country since forever. It's only been till like recently in like post 1960s that this is now entered into the lexicon of beliefs that somebody can have that can be really debated in a significant way. So yeah. Yeah,
it's just interesting to see of how that the definition.
Yeah,
it's not like we were taught.
Yeah,
but I also was just curious, like when did that ever like clump together? Is that like
fascist and Nazi, or
or that is that like kind of resembles of what you mentioned in the previous conversation, like 2012 with race and how we
when did fascism kind of enter the lexicon? I mean, I think with Trump, it's like 2015. You know, they needed a way to discredit him, because they couldn't discredit him in the ways that would normally discredit a person,
right?
You know, they can't just say, yeah, this guy is an abuser. Dismissed.
Right.
Wow, this guy, he said that he thinks war heroes or John McCain is not a war hero. Dismissed.
Gotcha.
You know, it's like, well, why is he still around? They're panicking. They're figuring out, okay, what else can we say?
Right.
I mean, the birther thing. I mean, he hates Obama. He's a racist, but he's not he's not your ordinary racist. He's a fascist. That's what he is. And I'm just like, it's like, yeah, like that's, you know, and I think that also kind of marked, that also came into the lexicon because at his rallies, he's like, again, talking about like, I want to beat somebody up, or it's like, that, I'm sorry, it doesn't make you a fascist. It's like no more than the what is it? The Sons of Liberty were like fascists, because it's like, I'm sure they got into some scraps with people. It's like, you know, and one last thing I want to clarify too for the audience, you know, I'm sure some of you out there probably think that like Franco Spain was fascist Spain. It's like Franco wasn't a fascist. Like there was a fascist party. It's called the Phalangist Party. Franco wasn't part of it. And actually the president or the leader of that movement, the Phalangist Party, died. And there was kind of a rivalry between, I forget the guy's name, but between him and Franco. And then Franco was a staunch Catholic traditionalist Spaniard. He wanted to return Spain back to its Catholic traditionalist roots. That's it. Now, it was a conservative right-wing rebellion. So it incorporated monarchists, it incorporated, again, Catholic traditionalists, it incorporated fascists, but it's post World War II load-bearing mythology. Claps it all down. It's all fascist, which means Nazi, which means Hitler. So it's all the same thing. It's just like, no, it's not. It's not the same thing.
I've also kind of noticed in Hollywood, where like, I don't know if you've ever watched The Boys or any of those kinds of, or
what, the Homelander?
Not just with Homelander, but also in Gen V and also in kind of Peacemaker, where like whenever they want to like just make someone evil, they'll just say they're a Nazi or give them Nazi memorabilia. And that, as someone who has studied the Nazis, that really annoys me because it really just downs it down
the
it
whole
don't
thing.
yeah, and then like if it dumbs down the whole thing, then it makes it perfectly possible to repeat. Like I think I don't know, like another show that did it, Peacemaker, where like there was this whole joke where Peacemaker went to another Earth where they were just completely racist, and the whole joke was ha ha ha, he didn't notice that there was a mural of Hitler just right out of the camera view. And it's like, I mean, that's kind of like it's
well, no, exactly, and it's like that's been my frustration. Listen, it goes back to what you're saying about the both sides calling. It's like you guys are just dumbing down, very powerful movement that means something. Don't dumb them down. Stop dumbing them down. No, your uncle is not a fascist. I'm sorry. You know, it's like I hear this all. Oh, my racist uncle. It's like, he's probably not racist, and he's definitely not a fascist. Right. I guarantee you, he can't even define the term, let alone you. So it's like, again, and I'm not trying to be this also like pedantic, and I'm not trying to come across like I feel like I am coming across as like a total douchebag. But it's just like, it's just irritating. It's just like people are just throwing these terms around and they don't know what it means. Right. It's like do the research, like look at it, look it up. It's like one last thing, and I'll get off the soapbox. Again, if you like, fascists and Nazis are different in the sense also because if you look at the history at the early stages of the alliance, like Churchill was trying to forge a relationship and an alliance with Italy, with Mussolini at the head of that government. And for a long time, they were hoping that Germany, because Italy fought against Germany and Austro-Hungarian Empire in the First World War. So they were not natural German allies. It was only because Mussolini lost control of his economy and lost control of the ability to rearm Italy sufficiently to challenge Germany that it basically made confronting and being more oppositional to Germany, which it started out being, it made that not possible in the long run. And then after their bombardment of Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, using gas, I think it was a chlorine gas. That basically made Britain say, okay, we're done trying to, because we can't openly just support a country using chlorine gas against a group of people. And so that is what pushed Italy and Germany together. But even still, that the relationship was never this unified thing. These were two different things. And I also, because I have a reel on this and on my page, if you visit it, where I talk about like the Italian Social Republic is the only thing that was headed by Mussolini that comes closest to Nazism, because it was a Nazi puppet regime established by Hitler after they freed Mussolini from jail, and established him in the north of Italy. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up, because it's like that's the context and the history matters, So,
and it's funny that we were talking when we were driving here. It's like, especially in our generation, like the fascination of learning World War II and trying to like define everything. Like to be honest, I like when you very clarify like Franco not being a fascist. I'm gonna be frank. When learning World War II in school and in some documentaries, they did label him as that. But then and then I did see something that kind of counteract that. I was like, I didn't go too deep into it because I was like, all right. But now hearing a little bit more about him, I'm like, wow, I need to learn a little bit more about the social climax of what was going on with Spain. I mean, we were only learning about World War II from the American perspective. And, you know, sometimes that history, what we learn over time is like, it's not the whole story. And that's the biggest thing. And that's why for my job at the Mercer Museum, I'm learning from the loyalist perspective, and I'm telling their story. So because their story matters as well. And I still have people saying, well, fuck that. Like, I don't want to learn from that. I'm like, then why are you here? Like, this is history. We're trying to learn from both perspectives. And that's something that Henry Mercer really focuses on. And the timeline of like what the Mercer Museum is like, we're learning it from all different perspectives to tell the whole story. History is the whole story, not from one glimpse.
You know, but that's the whole rub, right? Because when you do that, the narratives that are necessarily relying on a particular interpretation and understanding fall apart.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, and in particular with World War II.
Yeah.
Everything in our world today depends on you having a certain view of World War II.
Yeah.
It has to be that, because any question or any deviation from that questions the whole current system.
Okay.
And we can't do that. So we need you to stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And we need you to think this. It's okay to maybe play within some margins here, but that's for a few people.
Yeah.
And under certain circumstances. But that, other than that, it's off limits.
Right.
And again, I think.
Well, why? Like, not saying why. What is that? But like, why is that event in particular compared to other events?
I mean, it's the. I mean, I don't want to downplay the scale, right? I mean, we're talking about something that's the bloodiest war in human history. Right. It's by default going to have a lot of weight.
Okay.
Both sides entered World War II knowing that the world was fundamentally going to change no matter who won.
Right.
So it was by definition something that was going to have the kind of impact that it would have regardless of the outcome. That said, that outcome with an Allied victory, especially with the fact that we teamed up, the United States, the Western Alliance, teamed up with the Soviet Union, that it then later fought against, that's a particular part of that story that I think it's a fly in the ointment. It doesn't tie everything up into a bow. I give you an example. For instance, when you really kind of get down and question people, okay, like what is it about like the Nazis, for instance, like why are they like the ultimate bad guys? Or like what makes them like the ultimate bad guys? Well, people say, oh, they killed people. In particular, it's like they killed a certain group of people. But just in general, it's just like they killed people. And you're like, okay, yeah, but like the Soviet Union and communist countries together, they killed way more people than the Nazis ever did. So like, is your thing that they killed people, or is there something else? It has to be something else, because it's like, if that's your rubric, then you'd actually be way more concerned and way more angry about communism.
Right.
But you're not. So, okay, all right, so there's something else to it. Okay, is it particularly the racial aspect? Is it because you killed a specific group of people? And sure, that one has a lot of purchase. I can see that one. But in Belgium and the Congo, they killed a lot of people, particularly because of their race. And well, you know, but that's. I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's bad. But you know, it's different. It's different. Why is it different? Well, because it just is. Why? And I think for me now, I'm kind of leading into what I think. It's like, well, it's because people that were targeted, looked like Europeans. They were white skinned people. And I think that psychologically for Europe, for the West, it's like, I think like that's the first thing. And I'm kind of like right now, I'm kind of ad-libbing. I'm a little bit trying to also think about this myself too, because I ask myself this all the time. So I think that's one part. I think the other part of it is, I think the industrial scale of it plays a role. I think just the fact that the Germans were able to be very methodical. They brought their methodology with them in that endeavor. Right. Is what it is. But people aren't going to tell you that. People aren't. Oh, it's because of the German methodology of. It's like that's not. It's just that's not what's going on. So obviously, I think there's something else going on. For me personally, I think it has to do with its control. I think everything that we touched on, whether it's like race, whether we didn't touch on masculinity, which I wanted to kind of get into, but I think there's a war on masculinity. I think that has its origins with World War II. I think anything that's coded as masculine, in particular like white masculinity, it's kind of there's so many like funny like thoughts or writings or discussions on like the concept of like wiggers, you know, like white dudes trying to act, you know, quote unquote stereotypically black. And it's like kind of this thing. It's like, yeah, like white guys are really not allowed to express masculinity in a kind of traditional European kind of white sense, right? Because all those guys, even Teddy Roosevelt, like all of them, they're all demonized. Every last one of them, they're not good. These are bad. If you want to be like this guy, you're a deranged person. So if you're a guy and you want to kind of exhibit kind of masculine energy and masculinity, it's just like, well, yeah, you got to turn to like rappers, hip hop artists. You got to turn to just like other things that are like more accepted in society.
Yeah.
I think the suburbs, the birth of the suburbs. I personally kind of call them because it's kind of going back to my kind of exploration of like wanting to understand where wokeness kind of came from. I think what people are more, when woke people, I think they're more against how white, they're against white suburban culture in particular.
Okay.
Which I also am against. I think that white suburban culture, as it's kind of presented itself in America, it's so infuriating. And I think, the suburbs in large part are basically white people hamlets. If you know what a hamlet is, it's like in Vietnam, during the Vietnam War, they would set up these villages. They'd call them hamlets. And it's basically in the rural areas to basically keep tabs on and keep pacified the people in South Vietnam so that they wouldn't give cover or aid to the Viet Cong as they would go down. It totally backfired. But the idea was like, oh yeah, we'll put them in these like villages, we'll give them like some stuff, and then that should keep them happy. And it's like it totally missed the whole point of why they're even fighting in the first place. But it gets at the idea of like it's about pacification. I think the suburbs in so many ways are about pacification, as particular against like white people. And this is not me trying to just be like, it's like white person savior or whatever. But it's just like, it's like when did, as a country, we lose the edge from being a bunch of farmers who are like, hey, listen, like over a 2% hike in taxes, I'm ready to go overthrow the government. The people who are like, well, there's no place for political violence, you see. It's just like, well, yeah, it's because you're too comfortable.
Right.
It's like, I got my Netflix, I got my nice little lawn. Yep. And sure, the food is poison and you totally have contempt for me, and my kids have no future, but you know what? But I'm comfortable, so I'm not going to really rock the boat.
Or death scrolling on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Problem.
I do it too, honestly. Like, I think everybody, if there's anybody who's not doing it, I'm actually genuinely like, okay.
I improved significantly.
Yeah.
Like all today and yesterday.
I do. Yeah.
Well, it's just looking at news. Like I'm curious about what's going on. So I'm just seeing like I mostly read articles. Like I just want to read as much as possible and trying to figure out like what's real and what's not. And that's like a freaking headache because it's like I have like multiple like news apps I have, like Straight Arrow News. I look at their stuff and they tell you like what the base of the articles is, and then I look at Fox, I look at CNN. I know like both of them are both like have their own problems, but like I'm just trying to look at from different perspectives from what I am.
Yeah.
And then this is why like this podcast in particular, like I'm excited to freaking post because I'm like, this is a different perspective and like understanding things and searching it out. Like that's what I hope like people, when they listen to this, like they'll go and seek. Yeah. Cause it's like, like we're also doing this off the dome. So like not everything that we have like is 100% going to say like, oh, we're going to read off of like whatever it is. Like it's our interpretations and stuff like that.
It's also too like last thing I can say because I know we're trying to wrap up. It's like I do chafe a little bit at credentialism. I think that like this constant like cite the source or whatever. It's just like, well, why do I have to have a source to kind of tell you something that is like that's what it is? Like,
I got you.
Like, so again, because I'm like. Again, you can manufacture this stuff. Like Google, they manufacture search results. Right. AI is another one where it's just like try having a conversation with AI about anything that's like going down off the beaten path. It's like, and so it's like, right. You need sources. You want to make sure that you are playing in the realm of truth. But I think it is sometimes still an open, especially when it comes to soft topics.
No, I got you.
And I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
that in the sense of like the like history, philosophy, whatever. These things are, at the end of the day, people kind of deciding it's this.
Mhm.
We all decided it's this now. So we need you to like agree with that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, yeah, but like, why is it that though?
Hmm.
Whose interest is that serving?
Right.
You know, and you can say the same thing
Interesting.
about the ways I'm coming down on things. But
Yeah,
again,
sure.
yeah,
No, it's just a interesting like way to look at things, and you know, I'm very much grateful.
Yeah.
We definitely need to jump on this again very
absolutely.
soon. Let's schedule that after this, because
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the masculinity aspect
For sure.
as well.
Yeah,
'cause, we can go on a different tangent on that, but I appreciate that. So, for those to the audience, thank you for Brandon for being over here, and check out his content on his Instagram, and then eventually YouTube and all.
Yep.
And then again, his information will be on the description. So yeah, check it out. Thank you.
Give a nice handshake to the wide
Yeah.
man.
Thanks, guys. Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate you big time.
awesome.
Know how it is.